but then when it comes time for them to actually pay out, they don't want to pay nothing.
Hello? Is Reverend Kidwell here?
Oh, sorry you're going through that. I'm still owed money for a roof on a house that I sold already.
Is Reverend Kidwell here?
$6,000, and they were handed the bill, and they said they paid for it, and they never did.
I don't see him.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to ask him. David Dukes.
Oh, that's why I did.
David. 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 Would you like to lead us in a prayer?
Would I like to lead you in a prayer?
Yes.
Absolutely.
No, come on. Up here.
Father, we just ask you to be here with us today, Lord. Just give us a good meeting. Lord, just keep peace. Lord, we ask you just to guide everybody's hearts and their feet, Lord. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Tom, would you lead us in a pledge?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to open the meeting. We'll start with public hearings. We have two. So I would like to open the public hearing specific to approving the 2025 tax rates.
Good evening. In your packet tonight is the information on the 2025 tax rate setting. This year for 2025, the tax rate will be 0.6971, which is a decrease from last year. This is based on the calculation confirmed by the state and by the county. Because of the deadline of September 1st, tonight I'm going to request a first and final reading to approve this so that Lori and I can remit it to the county clerk for the state requirement of September 1st. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Stephanie?
So, I'm sorry, these are based on the current property assessments, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay,
And the calculations by the state for the evaluation.
Okay, and so the reason that there's an increase from last year, despite the fact that the rates are lower, is because our property values have gone up, is that right?
Correction and new, correct, and new construction.
And new construction, okay, thank you.
Since this is an open public hearing, is there any citizen that would like to speak on this issue? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Is there any further questions by council? If not, can we have the first reading?
An ordinance fixing the tax levy for general revenue, library, and park by the city of Rolla, Missouri for the year 2025.
Administration is requesting a second and final reading tonight. Is there a motion to suspend the rules and have a second reading?
I move to suspend rules and go for a second reading this evening.
I'll second that.
Motion made in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Final reading, please.
On that, I'm sorry.
Kevin. An ordinance fixing the tax levy for general revenue, library, and park by the city of Rolla, Missouri for the year 2025.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made in second. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Balch,
Yes.
Dickens,
Yes.
Reven,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Hahn,
Yes.
McNevin,
Yes.
Pace,
Yes.
Shelby,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Roloffs,
Yes.
10 ayes.
Ordinance is passed. Second item is to consider an ordinance to approve a conditional use permit, and I would like to officially open a public hearing for that subject.
All right. Yes, this is a conditional use permit. The request is at the, the official address is 1905 Country Ridge Road, but the property is located at the very end of Country Ridge Road. Country Ridge Road, just so we're orientated here, so over here it'd be 72, then there's Osage Drive, which comes off 72, and then Country Ridge comes off of that. And it gets to a point, and it's still right-of-way from a unbuilt but dedicated subdivision, but then it becomes a gravel driveway, and then on down into the property. They've got the property surrounded by the red. The request is to basically for a conditional use permit to operate a golf driving range, and So I guess I should say it's about a 40-acre piece of property. The golf driving range itself, I'll show you a site plan of where that's at, but it only uses a portion of the property. So this is a street view. This is looking to the south from the end of Country Ridge Road when it becomes that gravel driveway, and it goes quite a ways back to the actual property. So this is the site plan. Basically, there'd be 10 tee boxes. The range, I guess let me explain the site plan. So there's the gravel drive coming to the property, and then kind of a new driveway to come over to a parking area. Indicate about 10 parking spaces and a kind of a turnaround type area. And then the tee box would be kind of, teeing area would be kind of here, and by that it's basically just a concrete area. And this is the pink area is kind of the range. So the range from the tee to the back of the property over here is about 800 to 900 feet. So that's 233 to 266 yards. Just to put that in perspective, an average golfer hits about 200 to 250 yards. You notice on here you can see it kind of on your photo, but the end there's a stand of trees that would remain on the east side and also the north side of the property. And the idea that basically the applicants, the idea is that these trees should catch any balls that would be errant. And anyway, there'd be parking for 10 cars. What's proposed is to keep the gravel access drive, but improve that gravel access drive to be a minimum of 26 feet wide, so that meets the fire code for fire access to the property, and at least for now be a gravel parking area. So this one gives you a better idea as to how this plugs into the bigger picture. This property is right next to the McBride development, the big subdivision. Of note, you'll notice the closest area is going to be kind of a open space for the McBride subdivision, but the remainder along these sides are houses. This area back here they've started their development kind of up in this area. They shouldn't be back to this area for another couple of years. So this is being proposed as a conditional use permit as an agricultural business use. Basically, when we redid the zoning code a few years ago, there was a change to remove the RR rural residential zoning district and combine that with the R1 zoning district. When we did that, the problem is out on the fringes of the city, there are a lot of large undeveloped pieces of property that are basically agricultural. And so wanted to add a way to have some use that uses that are non-residential in those types of situations, to give an avenue for people to apply for the businesses that might make sense in kind of an agricultural type area. And so I've got the definition, but basically there's a list of uses, and then at the end it's or similar uses as determined by the community development director or approved by the city council. But it's intended for uses that would generate excessive traffic, noise, and/or require mitigation. If it were, it just depends on the use, where it is, and the scale, and all that kind of thing, as to whether or not it's a good idea for the particular property. Golf driving ranges and golf courses in general, you see those pretty frequently in rural type areas and suburban type areas. You don't see them very much in like a commercial. You don't see them in downtowns for sure, but you don't see them very much along commercial strips because they're a type of use that requires a lot of land. When you're reviewing a conditional use permit, you can review some criteria to make sure if it's something you'd like to approve. Basically, you can review it to see if it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. You can review the use, the scale, and the location to make sure it's compatible with the area that is proposed. You can make sure there are adequate utilities and facilities in the area to handle the use. You can impose reasonable conditions to mitigate any impacts to surrounding properties. You can look at the impact of traffic, and you can consider any relevant information that you receive at the public meetings. To summarize, a conditional use permit is required for agricultural business uses, such as the proposal was a golf driving range in this case, in the R1 zoning district. A conditional use permit should only be approved if it's found to be of a scale and intensity that is compatible with the surrounding area. Golf facilities are commonly located in residential and rural areas. The Planning and Zoning Commission took a look at this at their meeting last week and did recommend approval with conditions. I want to go through the conditions. They're included in the draft of the ordinance. But basically, the first one is that this will expire in 3 years unless it's extended by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they may review this and make any modifications as is determined to be necessary. The reason for this is because right now there's kind of a lot of unknowns as far as this use. I mean, will it impact the surrounding properties? Is there going to be a lot of traffic coming and going and whatnot? But after 3 years, you'll be able to go and, like, for example, the golf ball issues. Are they leaving the property, and will they impact when McBride builds houses there? We can go out there and look and see, well, are golf balls, have they left the property? If they have, then we need to look at this again. We need to either change the angles that they've got the tee boxes, or maybe to consider netting and things like that to make sure that there aren't impacts to surrounding properties. Same thing with this gravel road. For the level of traffic they're proposing, it may be fine, or if this place proves to be very popular, it may need to look at requiring it to be paved after the 3 years. The applicant has stated that the idea is that this golf driving range is supposed to be a temporary thing to kind of test the waters, see if this makes sense for the property. If it does make a lot of sense, then they may, do some more investment. And there's been consideration thrown out there of maybe like a golf course, full-on golf course at the property. Then, since what's proposed, it doesn't actually require any building permits. They're not proposing any buildings. There's just a concrete slab and a gravel parking area. So one of the conditions is that staff will go out there and inspect this thing before they open, make sure that they're meeting the requirements of the conditional use permit and any other city code requirements. This use to be limited to daylight hours, and specifically no outdoor lighting will be permitted with this conditional use permit. The applicant hasn't proposed outdoor lighting, but that was something that came up as a concern, and especially since it's not proposed now, we weren't able to evaluate where the lights were proposed to be placed. But lighting in particular, if it was open at night, the lights could be shining when houses get built around it. They could be shining in that direction. We don't really want that. Any expansion or adding of buildings and whatnot will require approval of amendments to the conditional use permit. That requires going through this public hearing process again, same as we're doing this first time here. And then the gravel road needs to be built and maintained to meet the fire code, and that's 26 feet in width in this case. That's all I had. Do you have any questions for me?
I got 3. In all my years here, I don't ever recall us doing a rezoning or a CUP that had an expiration of 3 years. They usually go for the life of whatever that use is. So my concern is we're doing something to give somebody an opportunity to try this. I get it. 3 years from now, city says, you know what, that gravel road ought to be paved, or you ought to do this, or ought to do that. It seems to me it could be a very messy situation in 3 years. Have you had a frank conversation with the property owner along those lines?
I'd have to say no. I've provided the proposed conditions to the property owner, and the property owner was unable to attend the planning and zoning meeting, and I have not spoken to them to date about the proposed conditions. So,
Because if there's a
I'm
disagreement, right, after somebody put money into the property, there's going to be a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one concern. Second concern, you make a reference on the gravel road to comply with IFC Appendix D. Is that compliance only limited to the width? Or is there something else in that appendix that they have to do?
Well, there's the big thing is the maintenance of it, and the its ability to handle the weight of a fire truck. So basically, the applicant will have to engage an engineer to tell them how to build this gravel road. Part of it depends on the actual soil conditions at the area, and so it's got to be able to bear the weight of a fire truck, and then it's got to be maintained in a way that the fire truck can always get down it.
So do we get something from an engineer that said this is what they're gonna build? How do we agree with what that change is, and how do we enforce it without having that engineer's?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, since it's a condition that condition number 2, inspection prior to opening, and since this is a condition later on saying has to be built to IFC, I would say that we would get that prior to them opening.
We would get what, to who?
Get
Are we in other words, okay, so we're not gonna, there's a question, not a statement. We're not gonna get in advance this engineer's report. Is that correct?
I mean, it doesn't say that in here, but I would hope we would, but,
Okay.
So, Tom,
It's
are we
not-
gonna-
Hold on, let me finish this. If it's not in there, you're not gonna get it. Let's start with that. So let's assume we don't get it. Prior to opening, is someone in the city qualified then to inspect that and certify it? Because then the burden shifts on us.
I'm not sure how to answer that. I think.
I think an answer might be coming.
Oh, here we go.
Phone a friend?
Just for our standard process for permitting, we would require that document from an engineer.
Okay, so that checks that box, good.
Yeah.
So that's the method that we would use to be sure that they are building it in compliance with that appendix.
That's correct. And then we would have a follow-up with the engineer to make sure that they built it that way.
Okay, good. Third question. If I'm not mistaken, any other business in the city of Rolla, we require a parking lot to be paved, okay? So on this one, we are intentionally waiving that requirement?
It is what the applicant is asking for. So,
Okay. So how do we look at the next business person that comes around and says, hey, I had to just drop 200 grand in for pave my parking lot? Because we have had numerous businesses in town throw that in our face. Okay.
yeah, I think.
Jared,
Yeah, please,
Come
by
on
all
up
means.
here.
Is it Jared?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Jared.
Hello, how you doing? So, one reason I'm requesting that is I own a 100-acre piece of property has 0 utilities. I don't have water, I don't have sewer, I don't have trash, I don't have electric. I use inter-county electric. And so the road that has to be built that is already gravel is a large investment that is not up to fire code currently. I have nothing from I don't have anything from the city right now. So that's one reason I'm asking that it not be paved.
Yeah.
So
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, Jared. I just want to make sure that we know what we're agreeing
yeah,
to. That's
I
all.
understand. That's
Can you state
why.
your name
Yes,
for the
sir.
record?
Jared Jordan.
Kevin, you had a question?
No, you said the same thing after we got to it. Jared, real quick, so you're gonna run a business out there, but you don't need a building.
So I have 2 houses there now.
Okay.
I'm not going to provide bathrooms or facilities right now. The requirement to do that was more than I am able to do right now.
So you'd run the business out of one of the houses? Is that the plan? I mean,
It's self-serve. There is no,
okay.
Yeah.
So
it's
you don't,
just a machine is all it would be.
okay, so you don't actually need an employee there then?
No.
Gotcha, okay.
So that opens up another question. Do we have a requirement on any other business to have a bathroom?
So the bathroom thing, since he isn't adding any buildings, wasn't a way to trigger it with the building code.
Tom, I hate to be an ass about this, but I feel like I'm getting spoon-fed by asking all these questions. So let me try one more time. Any other business in Rolla, do they have to have a bathroom?
I wouldn't say every other business in Rolla would have to have a bathroom. Like you see, fireworks stands don't have bathrooms, those sorts of things, and that's what I say. It's if you're building a building, you're providing, and you have a business, you've got to have a bathroom for employees at minimum.
Okay, so do the codes say you have to have a bathroom if you have a building? Is that the connection?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Or employees. You'd have a requirement if you have employees, but there's no employees here, but.
Okay, I'm good, thank you. Any other council comments, questions?
I had a question. So you showed the street view image, and there was a residence there, it looked like. Is that residence owned by the applicants? Yes,
Go
that
back
building.
to the, this one here is, let me go back to, this one's, the street view you saw would have been the house right here, so that's way a ways from what we're talking about.
Okay,
The property is surrounded in red, so there's an existing house about here. This property here that shares the driveway, those people came to the planning and zoning meeting, they might be here tonight also, but they are not a part of this application.
Okay, so in effect then, the entrance to the driving range would pass by one or two other people's properties?
Yes.
Okay, so we'd be creating a business entrance where there isn't one in, okay. And so you said that I had another question, which was, in addition to the improvement of the gravel road, were there any other significant alterations required for the entrance, signage or the like, that has been discussed?
So hasn't been discussed. The signage, that question came up at the planning and zoning meeting. As I said, the applicant wasn't at the meeting, so you might be able to clarify. The applicant, I should say, also owns this unbuilt subdivision. They purchased that as well, so this road as it's passing through, it passes through their property.
Their property, okay.
As a residential property, it kind of, we might be able to have like a directional sign, let people know they've arrived at the right place, keep on going type thing, but I'm not so sure about more than that, but, yeah.
So just to clarify, that stretch of road there from Bristol Drive, Country Ridge Road to the entrance of the driving range is owned by one party? Okay, thank you.
Any questions for Tom?
Yeah. Tom, how would we determine that, so let's say that it goes forward and you put it in a driving range and people start going out there and shanking balls into the adjoining property. How do we know that it's happening or not happening? And that we would have to then in 3 years ask for mitigation to that?
That's kind of my thought, was after the 3 years, that actually go out there and look and see.
Okay, so at 3 years then, from now, the applicant knows that the property is up for renewal, if you will. They go out there and clean up all the balls, and we go out there and, oh, look, nothing here.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the plan to inspect that or to figure that out is thought through. I know that if I were to go out there, they would all be left and in the adjoining property. I'm horrible at golf. So I'm curious what type of fencing, or how tall are the trees out there? What type of fencing could be or would normally be installed if you had a driving range immediately adjacent to a built-up neighborhood?
So, what the applicant is trying to avoid doing, which what you sometimes see when a golf driving range gets put in an area with a lot of other activities and whatnot, you'll see these big, tall nets. They're about 30, 40 feet tall, sometimes taller. And the idea is those will catch anybody who slices it off that direction. What he's trying to do is design it in a way that that won't happen, and part of what the plan is to set the tee box in. You can kind of wait. I gotta move over to this one. You see, there's some trees over here. The plan is to set it into those trees a bit, so that as somebody slices it real bad right away, it'll hit a tree right away, and not go any further. But I say that's just it's just hard to visualize what is really necessary almost until it's built, and so that's kind of part of what the 3 years thing was about. Is while there's nobody around, we can make mistakes and then fix them if it needs to be fixed.
So Tom, am I understanding right by what you've said so far? Really, there's You've got what Jared and Danielle own out there. You've got that house that is at the end of that road where somebody lives, and you've got McBride. Is that really the only two things around this piece of property?
Yes, yes.
And were they represented at P&Z, and did they have any input?
Like I said, the owners of this house came to the planning and zoning meeting. We did receive a letter from McBride, the president of McBride Corporation. They were, I think we incorporated their concerns into the conditions of approval, but they're concerned about lights and, of course, the proximity of the houses to it, just to make sure, houses weren't going to get golf balls and whatnot, and the traffic in general. But I think they weren't aware of where this really was, as far as that went.
So did it seem like through the things that you've put together, have we satisfied what they brought up in their concern, in their letter?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I think after assuming they don't go out there and clean up the balls beforehand. Like I said, I'm not planning on announcing when I'm going to go out there or anything. But yes, but that's kind of why I like the 3-year thing, is that we can go out there, and if it needs to be adjusted, it can be adjusted.
And how about the other property owner that you said was at P&Z? What was their input?
They were they're concerned about the amount of traffic. Although, like I said, that's limited to 10 tee boxes, and then I think they were pretty happy that the road would be improved, and then their expectation is that this property owner will take on the maintenance, because they're the ones causing most of the traffic at that point, and then made the road more of a maintenance, something that need to be maintained. So that's why the condition was modified to say "and maintained." We added the words "and maintained" to that last condition, just to make it clear that since it needs to be a fire road for them, that they should be the ones that had to maintain it.
And this improved road would come basically all the way from Palmer Court down? Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
Tom, could you flip to the view that shows the McBride development in here, please? Thank you. I remember when we approved the McBride development, one of their roads, and I want to believe it's the one that connects to Highway 72 rather, that comes out the back end of that property, was part of the master plan to be a through road on the south end of the city. So how would approving a golf range right there impact that master plan?
Yeah. So a golf range in particular, I don't think is such a big deal, because generally we get those rights of way and whatnot when properties develop, like for houses and whatnot. A golf range is still just an open field and whatnot, so the area is still preserved at this time. So I think it'll be fine, unless we.
Just wondering why my property would be part of a question about the master plan. I don't understand why a master plan goes through my property and has any input on what we're talking about. I don't have any interest in selling it to McBride or anybody, and I don't know why that would mean anything, I guess.
It's just a question. It's because part of the consideration when we considered the McBride development was that through road, and part of the consideration was when we approved their PUD, we gave consideration to that through road, and I'm wanting to give the same consideration here.
Okay. Well, to me, again, it's my property. I don't know why their road would mean.
It's not their
anything to
road.
me.
It's a plan for a
Okay.
city road eventually, not necessarily anytime soon. And so I'm just wanting to see how that plan would be adjusted
Okay.
in consideration of this plan development.
Okay. And then also on the range, just so you know, it's hard to see because the pink isn't showing up, but there's a buffer between where those trees are. There's about 30, 40 yard buffer of weeds and trees that are not used as well. So it's not, I have no problem eventually maybe adding a net, but it's angled away from that. Even if you shank it, that area is not really in play. I
It's not
guess
really
that's
considered
it.
downrange,
it's not, it's off, it's way off to the side, so.
where
Just-
everything I would hit goes.
But Jared, you gotta realize, we're not the golfers you are.
Well, I get it.
Yeah.
And what is the ultimate goal here for
So,
this?
so truthfully, my ultimate goal is to build a 9-hole golf course on this property. So, so the other thing is, I don't need to do any of this, truthfully. So I own 100 acres total. This is 40. I could use my road that I currently have. I could do everything I'm doing and just move it down the road just a little bit, and do it all there. At that point, I don't have to put a fire road in. I don't need lighting. I don't need approval. I like where this is. I think this makes the most sense for. I've spoke to McBride before they sent this letter in. They think it's a good thing. I mean, there isn't a lot of this kind of stuff in Rolla. I mean, the one Kokomo Joe's is shut down right now. The S&T has lost what they've done. There's nothing like this for people. And the people I talked to at McBride were all in. They were excited about it. So I don't know the guy who sent in the letter that did. But ultimately, I would like to build a little 9-hole golf course. So, like an executive style course is what it would be.
Hey, John, real quick while we got Jared up here, back to the master plan of McBride that William brought up before. That road that comes out that basically would shoot straight through that was to basically handle the traffic flow from the subdivision, or is that just future growth within the city?
I think it was really future growth. I mean, large undeveloped adjacent tracts to residential areas, ultimately, despite people's plans today, change, and if there was ever more housing development to occur back there, that was another means in or out. It didn't obligate the property owner to have to allow that access through there. It's just an anticipation of what could happen in the future.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of that kind of example around the fringe of Rolla and some of the
Sure.
subdivisions.
I was more asking that just so, I didn't know if you were in the loop on any of that part of the conversation, Jared. I just want to make
get
sure
that.
you understood.
I just don't think it's fair that that should be a part of my question, my acceptance based on what if they're going to purchase my land eventually. I don't think that's a fair question for me. So I hope you understand that.
No, I do.
No, I didn't take that wrong at all. I just want to make sure you understood how that conversation was that led up to that question.
I get that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jared. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is it questions for the property owner at this time or not yet?
We didn't get there yet. but-
Okay, I'll wait till that time.
Anything else for me?
For the public, is there anyone that owns property within 185 feet of this proposed CUP that would like to speak for it? I'm sorry? Can, if he wants to speak. Jared, you want to speak forward, or did you say your piece already?
I'm good.
Okay. Is there anyone that owns property within 185 feet of the proposed CUP that would like to speak against it? Is there anyone that owns property outside of the 185 feet of this proposed CUP that would like to speak for it? And finally, is there anyone that owns property outside of the 185 feet of the proposed CUP that would like to speak against it? Any further questions by council?
For the owner?
For anyone?
Yep, I'm gonna ask Jared, if that's all right. So to access or get the equipment or the balls, is it gonna be a machine? Is it money operated? Do they then own it, or how does that work?
So it's a machine that does cards or money.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, they just scan their card or put money in and it dispenses balls.
Okay, so it's like, you're buying it, it's yours then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Do you deposit them back into a box, or do you take them with you? Do you?
the balls?
Yes.
So they would hit them there, and then I pick them and put them back in the machine.
Got it.
They do it again. So,
Okay, all right. And then I just had questions on, again, that you already explained it on that west side, trees, not trees, but you said it's shrub, it's.
So it's a big field. I own a farm, a cow pasture, and so there's weeds. I've cut an area that would be arranged that's more than, so his thing says 233 to 266. That's from a grass area that I've created. It actually is closer to 300 yards total, which is more than most people can hit the ball. It is plenty of space. There's a weed buffer that's probably 20 or 30 yards, and then there's trees on the side of that also.
Okay.
And then even some like green space between the houses there too. So I don't know. It's not only would you not have to hit it in the range, but then you'd have to hit it 100 yards the other way also.
Got it.
Maybe more. So.
All right, and all the rest were answered. Thank you.
And just to point, like if you see where the 12932 number is, all the targets like that you would aim at are more that side of the. Nothing is on the left side of the range where the houses would be.
Okay.
So I'm not saying people won't hit that way,
Oh,
but
right.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other council questions?
Yeah, actually, I had a question for you, Lou. When you, in your opening statement, referred to the possibility of something getting messy down the line after the 3 years, is that because you felt that the inspection period was too long, or that the conditions were insufficient at the beginning to head off any future disputes?
I raised it, and it's certainly nothing against Jared. The Jordans are great golfers, and I'm sure he's going to do a really nice job with this. My reason for raising it is, to my knowledge, we've never done this, on one hand. On the other hand, somebody is making an investment, however, I'm sure well into the six figures. And then we come along 3 years later and say, oops, we'd like to change this and we'd like to change that. And I just see that that's an unpleasant conversation, or potential of an unpleasant conversation. That's the only reason I raise it. I'm not suggesting for a minute that it's going to turn out that way, but
Just want to be careful.
One thing I would say to that is, I don't think the city's ever changed rural farmland to R1 residential either. And I think at some point that the CUP is made for this exactly. I don't know that I should be in this situation
it
personally.
absolutely is. One of the other reasons, and as the longer you serve up here, you'll realize this, consistency is important. And how you treat one particular property owner and what they want to do, and if you're going to waive this and waive that, understand that somebody else will come and ask you for the same thing. So I think the more we can be consistent, understanding that there's nuances with the property and all that, I get that, but the more consistency you can put across, the better you're going to be. But again, and I think he's lying because he probably can hit 300 yards. Or maybe a skid wheel.
If you're lucky.
Any other questions for Jared?
Thank you.
If not, we'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
First reading, please.
An ordinance to authorize the issuance of a conditional use permit for property addressed as 1905 Country Ridge Road for an agricultural business use, golf driving range, in the R1 Suburban Residential District.
Moving on to special presentations, we have three. First one is a quarterly presentation by Rolla Municipal Utilities.
All right, I got it to pull up. We're off to a better start than I expected. My name's Jason Grunlow. I'm the business manager at RMU. With me is Gwen Cresswell. She's our finance manager. Rodney, unfortunately, could not be here tonight. He had a family matter that took him up to Minnesota for the week. So he apologizes, but he did send us. So we are kind of working off his notes. So if it looks like we are reading a little bit, I apologize. So we'll go ahead and get started. Maybe if I can click. There we go. No. Apparently it's acting up. It took me 2 minutes to break it.
Oh, you did.
It's a gift.
Oh.
Oh. All right, there we go. All right. So this is our RMU quarterly report as required per city codes. We're going to talk about a couple different things. I'm going to talk about, do a brief financial recap, status of some current projects we're working on, and then I got a couple miscellaneous things that Rodney wanted us to talk about. And then I'm going to hand it over to Gwen, and she is going to talk about our fiscal year 2026 budget and some budgeted water and electric rate adjustments. So this first slide is our statement of existence, essentially. The Rolla Board of Public Works statements taken from the Rolla Herald in 1945, November of 1945. We like to share this at the beginning of every presentation because this was the start of RMU. We're actually, if you'll notice, it was 80 years ago this year. We've been celebrating our 80th anniversary all year. Hopefully you've seen some of the stuff we've shared in either the newsletter or on Facebook, sharing different parts of our history. We have more of that to come as we get through the rest of the year and we get closer to the actual anniversary. But we've been very excited, and it's been a very neat trip down memory lane to dig through some of that stuff. So let's go ahead and starting with the financial recap here. At the end of the third quarter of fiscal year 2025, year-to-date operating revenues total $25.4 million. This is an increase of $1.2 million compared to fiscal year 2024. Total operating expenses through the third quarter of 2025 are $28.1 million. And our operating expenses increased by $3.1 million from the end of the third quarter in 2024. This is mostly due to tornado-related expenses and increased purchase power cost. That is unfortunately going to be a little bit of a theme through our presentation tonight, is that there is a lot of upward pressure coming through the utility industry as far as cost goes. So we have a total net loss year-to-date through the third quarter of 2025 is $585,000, which is a decrease of $1,052,000 compared to fiscal year 2024. So, going to a couple electrical projects here. So, we're still doing cleanup from the tornado that I referenced a little bit ago. Most recently, as part of the restoration from the March 14th tornado, at our Wyman substation, we put in new underground primary conductors from the substation that run to the overhead distribution system. Cleanup is going to continue for a while as we just touch things up. The vast majority of it's done. Now it's just going through and kind of dotting I's and crossing T's and making sure we have everything up. 500 South Bishop Road, Walmart, and the neighborhood around Walmart, we completed an upgrade of the electrical distribution system. We converted to 12 kV. As time allows, there will be more updating of the system in older parts of town like that as we continue to go. 11th Street from Oak Street to Rolla Street, we've installed an underground electric distribution conduit conductor. That conductor is now live, and we have been working on removing the overhead in that area. We've removed as much as we can at this point. As we move along with other projects, we'll be able to remove the rest of it. Some other aesthetic work we've been working on. Over by the Wyman substation, actually we had a removal of the 34 kV lines on South Bishop Avenue from Williams Road to Lanning Lane, and from Lanning Lane to South Bishop Avenue to the Wyman substation. Removal actually began as part of the restoration from the tornado when it destroyed it all. So we were able to remove that. That portion of the 34 kV system was redundant. It was a redundant connection back to the Wyman substation. So we were able to clean that up, and it looks a lot nicer. We've also continued to work on pole attachment agreements with a lot of, I'm sure you've all seen, there's lots of fiber installers coming into town. So we continue to work on pole attachment agreements with them to improve the telecommunication system in town. Go into some water projects. The Nagagami pressure zone. I know Rodney's talked about that, I believe, here in the past. The water mains are completed up there. The first pump station construction is probably about 65% complete. We are on track to be operational by this fall when we were scheduled to. So far, everything's going well with that. North Bishop, the water main construction, the east side of 63 over there, we've replaced the water mains. That includes the new Freddy's property. We've got that updated so that from the old Steak and Shake, the new Freddy's. So that's all ready. The only thing left to finish on that is the west side of Highway 63. We do anticipate that being done in the next couple weeks. And then the water department crew has also been working over in Belmont Court replacing service lines. So a couple quick fiber updates too. We converted well 4 from radio to fiber. We were able to get that installed. That helps increase our connectivity. And we finished the restoration of our fiber system from the tornado. So that's kind of the miscellaneous stuff. Start with some awards. Most importantly, the photo that's on your screen right now is Rodney receiving a Public Power Reliability Award from Steve Stodden at MPUA. Eric Lining, our electric superintendent's over there on the left, and along with our board members, Fred Stone and Nick Barrick. That was an award given to us from our 2024 reliability. We were above national standards and average. We're very proud of that. That's something we work very hard, our crews work very hard on. We also received 100% loss prevention evaluation score from MIRMA. That's our 23rd consecutive year receiving a 100% score. That doesn't mean that we don't have insurance claims. It just means we're putting in a lot of work to avoid those insurance claims as far as training and safety, and just tracking and making sure everybody's taking care of things to maintain that. The next part, I'm just going to go ahead and apologize right now. This is the MPUA and MOPEP update. Rodney goes to these meetings and gives us a very abridged kind of update on what it was, but there's certain things he wanted to make sure we mentioned, so I'm just going to have to kind of read it, and it's a little wordy, so I apologize. The integrated resource plan with current resources, MOPEP will be slightly short of SPP resource adequacy requirements in 2026 through 2028, and again when they go up after 2029. With that in mind, there are significant actions taken on the April 24th MOPEP board meeting. First, Chillicothe is going to repair their Unit 1 generator, which is a 40 megawatt combustible turbine. This turbine has the benefit of having diesel backup, which is very beneficial in the winter, as the diesel can get cheaper. Natural gas can get very expensive as people continue to run their heat. So having diesel generation for it is really, really helpful. And this will help meet our short-term needs for power supply. Excuse me. Action was also taken to participate in the Northeast Generation Project, which will add combustion turbines in Fulton and in Hannibal for a longer-term solution. So that'll kind of meet what the current requirements will be for 2029 and beyond. They also approved higher capacity credits for local generation to better match the market. This significantly increases the capacity credits RMU will receive, and it's going to require further review of whether or not to sell our local generation or to reinvest in the generators that we have around town. A good indicator of future wholesale market electric cost lies in MEC's continued review of short and long-term power purchase agreements for the 3 state power pools and other Missouri hometown utilities. As reported at the meeting, the days of low-cost contracts are gone. To continue to control our long-term costs, we are all working together with investment in the future resources such as the Northeast Generation Project that I mentioned and the Marshall Energy Project Center that they're building. These are preliminary discussions about additional resources to meet long-term needs and meet required SPP or MISO capacity requirements. The Public Service Commission, we also want to talk about the Public Service Commission recently approved an approximately 12% rate increase for Ameren, Missouri customers. Like we talked about, there's lots of increasing pressure from the utility cost, unfortunately. Our purchase power price continues to rise. Trucks continue to get more expensive. Poles are getting more expensive. Wires getting more expensive. So there's lots of upward pressure on rates. There's a very good article in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch about all the utilities in the St. Louis metro area. Every one of them had at least a double-digit increase. Some had large double-digit increases. So we encourage anybody who's interested to go out and look at that. Excuse me. Senate Bill 4 was also passed through the legislature. It was a large utility omnibus bill. This comprehensive IOU bill is 133 pages long and includes significant IOU rate-making / operational changes along with regulatory reform. So while that doesn't directly affect us, as we're not governed by the PSC, we're governed by the Board of Public Works. We do try to follow as many of their guidelines as possible, so we are looking over the changes that have come up and things that we might need to adapt. So with that, are there any questions on my portion of the presentation? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Specifically with regard to the potential rate increases, the upward pressure that you're identifying, how difficult would it be for me as a homeowner to install solar on my roof for generation for myself and my use?
So it's not hard. I mean, it's all just a matter of what you're wanting to look into. There's lots of, we're getting solar applications all the time. We probably get at least one a week right now. People looking into it. And it's just a matter of looking at the finances. I mean, if anybody who wants to do it can. We ask that people talk to us just so that we can give you, all we want to do is give information.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have an opinion one way, good, bad, whatever. It's everybody's personal opinion. It's their finances. But solar systems are very expensive. Typically, they're probably the second largest purchase somebody makes besides literally buying their home. It's more expensive than most cars. So anybody can do it. We just, and you're welcome to do it without talking to us, essentially, other than meeting the requirements that are
Meeting code requirements.
meeting code requirements. But we do recommend that people talk to us about it, just, again, to get that information. Is it really going to be beneficial? How much energy are you going to use? Looking at trees, all these other different little factors. But yeah, anybody who's...
The other thing, William, when I asked Rodney a couple of years ago, I thought I understood what net metering was, and I didn't. There's a little bit more there that meets the eye, and it's not quite what people think about how those calculations actually work.
Mhm.
So I would strongly suggest you sit down with them and let them explain how that net metering reimbursement really works.
It was as much a curiosity as it was, something I'm actively pursuing. Just a thought.
Yeah,
So I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions for me?
You mentioned Ameren got a 12% increase. So I know, and you were talking about St. Louis, and I know there's severe pressure on shutting down all the coal-fired power plants up there, and so Ameren's having to invest billions of dollars, and then they're turning around and want that investment paid for. So, I mean, it's hitting us as well, that, it's all trickling downhill from there as well. So yeah, I've read those articles, so it's, I'm glad we're not in the 30% increase.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, along those lines, what is the status of our power pool plants that are coal-based? We have, as I remember, I think Plum Point or one of them.
Yeah, we have a couple. We have Plum Point. We have Prairie State.
Are they new enough that they're meeting the SO2 limits and all that sort of thing?
I think they're meeting through 2034.
Okay.
After that, it gets more restrictive, and I don't think they've
So
got
we
it.
don't have any in our power pool that's headed for closure or under pressure?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, thank you.
With that, if there's nothing else, I will hand you off to Gwen.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, as he said, my name is Gwen Cresswell. I'm the finance manager at RMU, and I'm going to briefly go through this budget. I find it interesting, but I'm sure most of you really don't care about the financials of RMU. So, we usually start work on our budget about 6 months into the fiscal year, so we have limited data to work with, but obviously we try to get as much information as we can to put that together. It takes our staff about 4 months to put our budget together and get approval by our Rolla Board of Public Works. So this budget has been approved by the Board of Public Works. It was approved at our last meeting, which was July 29th. As Jason mentioned, our electric department is underwater currently due to upward pressure with the power supply and additional tornado-related expenses from this year. So it's been a rough year for our electric department. These higher power supply expenses, as well as increased capital and operating costs, are going to lead to electric rate increases for FY 2026. For FY 2026, our projected electric revenue is right at $32,900,000. Our electric expenses are $32,820,000. So that's going to give us an electric operating margin of $53,000. Our projected water revenue is $5,126,000 and water expenses of $4,814,000, which is giving us a water operating margin of $311,000. Other revenues and expenses are going to bring in about $3.8 million, which is should give us a net income of $4.2 million, What that extra $3.8 million is used for is for capital expenses, funding our reserves, and our rate stabilization fund. On this budget summary, the thing that I really want everybody to see is that first, it says budgeted operating margin, and that is the bold mark there. That is the number that we use to set rates, okay? So that, we're supposed to have that as a positive number every year. Obviously, if we go in and start putting numbers in and this is negative, that usually indicates that we're gonna have to have a rate increase of some sort. So that is the number that we want to have positive. The other revenue and expenses, as I said, is used to fund our reserves and also for capital expenditures. Rodney puts this slide in here every time, I think, but essentially we have no debts. That is important when you're talking about our financials, that we do not have debts that we are repaying. We are totally operating off rates and are able to pay our bills off of that. Transfers to the city. On the RMU bill, there is a line item for a 5% pilot, payment in lieu of taxes. That is funds that we collect that then are paid into the city funds. This year we are expecting that to be right around 1.9 million. Okay, rates. Nobody wants to talk about rates. The residential electric rate for FY 2026 is going to increase to 9.1 cents per kilowatt hour. It's currently 8.5, so that's about a 6% increase. But for comparison, I want to point this out. The energy rate in 2013 was 8.9 cents. So while our service availability fee has increased over the years, this is the first time in 12 years that our rate's been higher than it was in 2013. So this is a comparison that kind of shows the rates as they're going to change from our current rates to the rates for next year, which will start October 1st. As I said, it's about a 6% increase. This is expected to bring in about $1.2 million in additional electric revenue and about $340 in water revenue. Does anybody have any questions about our budget?
I got a few, Gwen. First of all, both of you, very well done presentations. We appreciate it. And, you know, the performance of RMU has been outstanding, and I'm glad those outside entities recognize you with those awards.
Mm-hmm.
Tornado damage. What is the aggregated cost of that storm damage? And then follow-up question is, where are you on the reimbursement process and odds of reimbursement?
Its total cost is about 1.5 million, but 500,000 of that was actually damage to one of our roofs. So we're obviously expecting insurance to pay for the bulk of that. So there's about $1 million that was actual expenses for fixing our equipment that is not covered by insurance. Any of the lines that are up in the air, any of our water mains that are in the ground, none of that is covered by insurance, which is why we require to have reserves. So FEMA is supposed to reimburse us 75% of that. We have started the process with FEMA, and things seem positive now. There's a limit, or not a limit, there's a difference if you're below the $1 million mark, and it makes things a little bit easier. So we're, at this point in time, very hopeful.
And the expenses were incurred, but you don't accrue the revenue. You don't accrue the revenue reimbursement, do you? You're just assuming it's not going to come, and if it comes, it comes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Any questions by council?
I'm kind of new to this. This is my first round.
Mm-hmm.
How does the purchasing of power? I mean, I've been looking into this lately, especially when I'm getting handed $600 bills, which I've lived here 5 years and never seen one this high. Where are we getting our power from, and are there better ways to be doing this? You know, should we be? I mean, we have RMU. They have a nuclear reactor. It's not very big, but we have a place that can supply the technology and the staff that, I just question why we're not producing our own.
We are part of a Missouri Public Utility Alliance. You're correct in the fact that the university has a reactor, and they're actually working on doing something better with their reactor, which is way over my head. I'm not an engineer. But They have actually talked to us and the Missouri Public Utility Alliance about selling power, the possibility, I mean, who knows if that will ever happen, but if they did, they would sell power to the Public Utility Alliance, and then we would purchase it still back from the
David,
Public
we in
Utility
effect
Alliance.
own a power plants. So a number of years ago, it must be 25 years now, give or take, we used to buy from Ameren. And Ameren got a little too stiff. So the power pool that we belong to effectively owns those power plants. So indirectly, the city of Rolla co-owns.
So we basically
Power.
own stock in
So-
a larger grouping of, okay.
Correct.
That
So
makes.
we're in the power generating business indirectly. That's the first point I want to make.
Yep.
The second point is, just compare their rate increase with what Ameren just did.
Oh, yeah. That's why I was curious. I mean, it just seemed like, we're always seem to be really pushing, the city to use RMU and try to retain its,
Right.
the students that are being produced there. And this seems like this would be a prime thing.
Correct, and it, I wouldn't say we
And I know the
necessarily-
reactor's not super big.
Right, no, but I mean, but we do obviously work with the university very closely, and they have a lot of very smart engineers on staff.
And I assume
we
this
like
would
to-
be something they'd love to expand into, because now you can train a whole new generation of,
Sure, then they're always doing research, so they like
Yeah.
to use our data for their research.
Exactly. Thank you.
Other questions? No, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had one
Thanks,
other
guys.
question.
Thank you.
Sorry,
go
I
ahead.
had one other question. This may not be for you guys, might just be for Lou, I don't know. Sorry, Lou. So where's the city on the solar plant, or the solar power generation out of the airport? I know that once upon a time, there was
Yeah,
there was a due diligence.
There's been a
and
lot
we're still in
going
that
on.
period.
Been a lot going on. So what William's referring to is we have granted a lease and option to an entity called Vesper Energy. And they build solar farms, around the country. We get a lease payment now that's nominal. But if they build the solar farm, our yearly lease rates go very, very high. And we'll do a very nice job of better ensuring the airport's financial viability. They've got a couple of hiccups going on, and I want to be careful how I say this, but they've got hiccups with Marys County. So they have secured rights to quite a large number of pieces of property, and they are ready to go, but they need public access to get their lines to connect with the Ameren trunk lines. And the shortest distance to do that is along roadway within Marys County. Now, Marys County is being challenging to the point now where Vesper Energy is looking at another alternative, which could bypass some of that and use state right away, but it could get messy. So the only holdup, they gave a presentation to us Friday, the only holdup is Marys County right now.
Okay, I was curious.
And I think the due diligence phase is something like 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was quite a long period of
Yeah.
time, and I just wasn't sure where we were or what the progress was of it.
Yeah.
And if that ever comes to fruition, would that help with our local rates?
No,
No.
And
has nothing to do, we're not giving one penny to RMU.
And speaking of our rates, we do every year do a comparative rate study with all the towns around, and we always publish that. We put it in our newspaper and on Facebook, and our electric rates are down towards the bottom all the time, so.
Yeah.
Revenue from the lease would go to sustain the airport.
No, understood that. I was just curious if the generation would help
So they,
rate availability.
It is not associated, that project is not associated with MOPEP, which is our power pool.
Okay.
And so they are just gonna be selling to, I don't know if they have a buyer lined up, we don't actually know, but I'm assuming they're gonna try to sell it to the highest bidder.
All right.
yeah, as,
They disclose that it's likely Ameren.
yeah. In the presentation Friday, they said they were gonna look around, but it was likely Ameren.
That-
That was it.
Thank you
All
both.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Now we're gonna get some excitement. Now we're gonna get some tourism report. Ladies?
Well, I'm going to kick it off with boring numbers, so I'll save the excitement for the end. Good evening, everybody. I'm Stevie Kearse, the Executive Director of the Rolla Chamber of Commerce. So tonight we are talking about tourism, mid-year tourism update. So just like RMU did, I brought the whole team and we're going to break up our presentation a little bit. So a little different than we normally do. We're going to kick it off talking about motel tax. So just as a history, because I know that we have some new council members on the team tonight, the Rolla Chamber of Commerce has managed the motel tax since its inception, which has been around 30 years, and it's always been at 3%. The motel tax has been at 3%. However, in August of last year, voters did vote and approve to increase the motel tax from 3% to 5%. And just as a reminder, this tax only applies to overnight stays in Rolla hotels. The tax was implemented and was starting to be collected in November of 2024, and we did not start receiving it until January of this year. When we brought this increase to the voters, we had made a promise that the additional revenues were going to be used to grow tourism by enhancing our marketing, growing our Destination Rolla grant program, investing in some data programs, and then expanding our team. And I'm excited to announce that we have delivered on all of those promises. So we increased this year our Destination Rolla grant program to $50,000, which nearly doubled that from its previous levels. And we do have plans to increase that again in 2026. Our promotion and marketing efforts have hit their projected goals for this year. Those include expanding digital campaigns, regional advertising, and targeted outreach, and Amy's going to highlight some of that here shortly. We invested in Placer AI. This is an analytical software that allows us to measure event attendance, visitor behavior, and overall performance in real time. So we're really excited about this program. And in June, we welcomed a group travel and events coordinator to the team, and you're going to meet her shortly. In talking about our motel tax, we are tracking all of the new tax and how it's performing. So since there are some new council members, you may not be aware of how the motel tax operates. And the city does collect the tax. They do keep 10%. You keep 10% of that for your budget, and 90% of it is remitted to us. We do have a contractual agreement with the city to promote tourism and operate the visitor center. So we use that 90% for that contract. Through July of this year, the 90%, so every time I report on motel tax, it's typically going to be the 90% that we do receive. So that motel tax revenue has totaled $400,000 since July. That is up $175,000 compared to the same time last year. And this puts us on track to exceed the high end of the $250,000 to $290,000 increase we projected whenever we proposed that measure. That I feel like reflects both increased tourism activity as well as the direct impact from the higher tax. So Addie Reardon joined our team in June, and she is our group travel and events coordinator. Again, she's going to come up here tonight and talk about some of the groups that are coming to Rolla. But her role is focused specifically on group tourism, meetings, and sport event recruitment. So this position allows us to provide a more personalized service and expanded outreach to those growing markets. I mentioned before that we do operate the visitor center. That does include our building, 5 historic buildings, and almost 10 acres of property that we do manage. So I always like to give a buildings and grounds update to you guys every time we're before you. I do keep John Butts in the loop on the daily, it seems like, with what's happening at the property. But just so you know what's going on over there, we did have to replace the roping mechanisms inside the flagpoles at the Welcome to Rolla sign. And we did have to remove a few dead and damaged trees to the property. We are working on adding new signage. to the, I still call it a newer entrance into our property right off of Bridge School Road. With the expansion of Highway 72, it kind of changed the landscape of our property. But we are going to match the two signs that are already on the property, and working with RTI to build that masonry work and adding a sign to help guide our visitors in a little bit better. The heavy rains that we experienced this early summer were not our friend, and we did experience a major window leak, but we've got it repaired. We also had some HVAC repair that we were so blessed to get to deal with once the heat started wrapping back up after all of the rain. So, and then earlier this year, we did have a homeless encampment in the wooded area of the property and did have to deal with that. We did remove those individuals and had a fun cleanup out in the woods. So that pretty much wraps up my portion of the report on motel tax numbers and buildings and grounds, and I'm going to turn it over to Amy to talk marketing.
Just going to go over a few highlights of our marketing. Give me a second to pull this up. But before I do, I want to, I'm super excited to announce that if you recall, we were discussing, oh gosh, since last fall, the Route 66 sculpture. So as you all know, 2026 is the centennial for Route 66. We did apply for a grant last fall to put up a sculpture. They were offering them to each of the counties along Route 66. It's 100% paid for through the Missouri Route 66 Centennial Commission, and I'm happy to announce that sculpture went up this morning. Thank you to our lovely Darren and his team. We did work with a local company. There was companies outside. The main company other cities are using is out of Minnesota. I took our plans to a local company here, Focus Welding. Hey, can you guys build this? And they did, and boy, did they deliver. So if you go by Bueller Park, the Route 66 sculpture is now out there. But I do want to remind everybody that was 100% funded through a grant, again, with some partnerships with the city, our staff, and Focus Welding. So make sure you take a look at it. There is future plans to run a sidewalk to it, add some lighting, but it did, like I said, went up at 9:30 today. So happy to announce that that thing is up and going. So it'll be a great photo op. We'll be promoting that. The state will be promoting that as a place for people to stop along Route 66, not just throughout the state, but nationally. So with that said, I will get into our, I messed it up already. There we are. Okay. I know we do have some new council members, so I'll just kind of go over some of the things some of you may be familiar with, but we do have a website, visitrolla.com. We did actually just redo that website a little bit. Again, with a grant through the state, we were able to get part of that paid for. So if you haven't checked out our website, please do visit Rolla.com. It's not only a great source for visitors, it does have a calendar of events for any event in Phelps County, so it is also a great source for locals too if you're looking for something to do. Again, there's just kind of another highlights of the pages. Not only is there a calendar of events, we have pages dedicated to live music, different seasonal events that I use those URLs in some of our advertising that link back to those pages. We do have e-communications, we do text alerts, and we also do monthly newsletters. You should hopefully be receiving those. If you're not signed up for a text alerts yet, you can sign up for those, and that's just something that we send out on a weekly basis, letting people know like, hey, this is what's going on this weekend. Plus it's a good like on-demand communication, like if an event is canceled or rescheduled, we can communicate that to the community. And that's not just our events, that's actually community events. We pull those off the calendar of events to promote those. We are on social media. Hopefully you all are all following us. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok. So make sure you're following us on those channels. We, again, pull information from our calendar of events and promote things going on in the community. And please engage those social media channels too. That kind of helps our algorithms and everything with social media. So make sure you like and comment and share. We do have 2 billboards, actually 3 billboards, 2 of the same design, one on the east and west side of Rolla, and then one on Highway 63, again, just promoting our website. The ones on the interstate promote our visitor center and where to exit. We have another billboard that's out by St. Clair, and the reason this billboard is so far out is it is funded by a grant through the Missouri Division of Tourism. They reimburse us 50% of that, so part of the requirement of that grant is not to promote just Rolla, but all of Phelps County. So again, you'll see it's kind of a double billboard that promotes Rolla, St. James, and the things to do in Phelps County. So We put that up last year. We did renew that grant this year, so it will continue to stay up for another year. Pretty proud of our Fort Leonard Wood outreach. This year alone, we've already reached like over 500 people, and that's just us going to the Fort Leonard Wood Newcomers Orientation a couple times a month. It's not always our staff. We do have volunteers that go on our behalf, but as you can kind of see from the pictures, we set up our table, have our QR codes, hand out information to all the new incoming families at the Newcomers Orientation. And again, like I said, 500 plus people we've been able to reach through that so far this year. Just a snapshot of our print advertising. We have, as Stevie mentioned, increased our advertising. We've, increased the size of our ads, the different publications that we're in. Some of these, as you can see, that they have the Missouri logo. Those are funded by the Missouri Division of Tourism marketing grant. Again, part of that initiative with the tax was like, hey, let's do some more marketing. That also allowed us to increase our grant. Where last year they funded us $25,000. This year they funded us $50,000. So again, that's part of what we do with that is the print advertising, and then we have some digital advertising that we do as well. A couple of groups that we've hosted so far this year. The removal ride came through, and so we hosted them for a lunch at our visitor center. That was a very neat event, and they come through annually. We also hosted our annual Fort Leonard Spouses Tour. So this is an event that we host annually and bring over the Fort Leonard Spouses group. We host them to a day in Rolla, tour them around, show them where to shop, places to see, eat, dine, that type of thing. So yeah, went great. But with that said, with groups, I want to bring up Addie because she's going to talk about our future groups and what we have going on.
Good evening. It's nice meeting all of you. So like Amy said, some groups that we have coming up, we have the Hillbilly Tour group that's coming in the first week of September. They will be here the 3rd through the 7th. We are hosting a welcome dinner at the Lions Club for them, and they are opening their vehicles for the public to come look at and mingle with the drivers and just kind of get to know them and what they do with their vehicles. The next big group would be the Big Band, which is Bike Across America. They will be here September 11th through the 14th. They are driving throughout or biking throughout different areas of Phelps County. They do different routes every day, and then they come back. We'll set up water stations for them, but they will also be here September 11th through the 14th. I am currently working with a wine tour group, which is a group coming in on a big charter bus, and they're doing different wine itineraries throughout their stay here. They'll be here for 3 days through November. They're doing some shopping, different dining attractions, so they will also be here as well. As far as next year, we are doing some groups for Route 66, with it being the 100th anniversary. We are hoping to get quite a few groups in. So we are working with that currently, as well as different conferences we have planned and some sporting events. We are in the works of getting some softball and baseball tournaments next summer. Hopefully still working out logistics with that, but that is our goal. Okay, and then skipping on to Placer. So I know Stevie mentioned Placer a little bit, but this is a new tool that we are working on, and we can gather a lot of data from it. So these are just, for example, 4 big events that we've had in the city. So the Spring Arts and Crafts Festival, Phelps County Fair, Summerfest, and Lions Club Carnival. The visits means how many people came to those events. So you can do certain time frames, you can do different days. It is a pretty neat tool. Some other data, just basic data you can get from this is the visits, the dwell time, so how long people were at the event, the top origin cities, so the most popular places that people visited from. You can do the peak time, so when throughout the day the most popular time of day was that people came. If it's a multiple day event, you can see peak day, so if it's Saturday or a Friday, which day of the week was most popular for these specific events. You can also collect where people went before and after, which is kind of neat to see. And you can also see things such as household median income, ethnicity, gender, those things. So it is a pretty neat tool. We have a snippet here from the last 12 months. You can see the overnight trips in the top and the visit nights, which is how many nights people stayed, the total visitors spend. You can also see these are the top cities that people came from. So you can get the data for that, like St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield. So it is a pretty neat tool. You can see here also the average visitor spend per trip, which is hotels, gas, rentals, retail, restaurants, those sort of things. So it is a pretty neat tool. We are still learning about it and what all it can do, but it is great for collecting information for the city and the events we host to see what's successful and what's not. So I'll open it for questions now for all three of us if you guys would like.
Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, please, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I see the larger events and groups coming in. My question or curiosity peaks to, we are the center between two major cities, not even including Kansas City to the northeast. You know, we've got Branson to the south. We have all these bands that come through here. Concerts, bands, yet Rolla sees none of them as a central location. Why? I mean, and it's not like we don't have land. We have how many parks? We have Lions Club that, you know, I would assume wouldn't mind, you know, hosting this. Where's the entertainment at?
So just to understand your question is that there's bands traveling across I-44. Why do they not stop in Rolla?
Yes, why? It doesn't seem like, you know, I don't know if it's not being promoted right or.
Well, there's a lot of answers to that question. They're not going to stop for free. So even if they are traveling, you're still going to have to pay them some type of a fee. And then we have tried to host large bands before. There's not really it's doable, but it takes the whole community to come together to make it happen, because the venues, we don't have a lot of large venues that you could close for a ticketed event, because you have to recoup your cost to hire a band that's going to cost $25,000, $50,000, $150,000, maybe more. It's been a while since I've priced a band of that size, but I mean, there's only so many venues that we have in town that you could close to ticket. So there are a lot of those options, but we do have a lot of entertainment. A lot of the local bars and festival organizers do try to bring in mid-size bands or a large band if their budget allows for a free concert in the community. So we do the best that we can do with the resources that we have.
And the venues that we have.
And yeah, the venues.
Okay.
Sorry. My question has to do with the placer service. That seems a pretty powerful tool that you have. My question is, where do those data come from? Are we talking cell phone
Yes,
pings?
so they collect it from your cell phones. There is one flaw with the app, I guess, that maybe they're still working through, but if you're in an area with an event that doesn't have good cell service, you're not going to get any data on that specific event.
Okay.
I can understand how it pings you and says you're here or you're there, but you made a reference that the data also gives you your race, ethnicity, income. How is that gotten from my phone? Because I want to stop it.
They know.
They're always
I'm not on
watching.
social media, so it's not that. But where is that information?
That's a really
Because
good
that's-
question.
Look, it's one thing to ping me and I'm going down the highway, I get it. But now you're snooping
Yeah.
too deep.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all within the privacy guidelines. I mean, they're not
that doesn't make
obviously.
you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying it's a tool.
But how
and
are they
it's-
doing it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be happy to look into that because that's a question I don't know either.
And a lot of it comes from, I mean, it's the same kind of data flow that, think about it when you're on Instagram or you Googled, new shoes, and now guess what? Ads are popping up for new shoes. And it kind of finds your interest in some of those things. And so it's kind of that same data gathering.
I could see how we want the data. However, there's a lot of people in the world that do not want to be tracked.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So I'm curious.
Any other questions?
Get a flip phone. Any other questions?
No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the update on the shelter, which is making some progress. John?
Yeah, I last did this, I think, in March or April, and it might have been before some of the new council members got on, and so there's been some exciting progress being made. So I just want to do a quick update. I know we've spent a lot of time hearing presentations, so I'll try and move this quickly, and Lori's going to help me run through this. So, we built the original shelter in the 70s. That was done by Stan Spadoni as the chief of police, and we've been really operating it, a very effective program, but very much as a law enforcement-based program. We realized that we needed to replace that facility. And somewhat out of the heavens, when Bob Beck passed, sadly enough, he was generous enough to give $441,000 to initiate a campaign of replacing the animal shelter. So we then hired a firm called Shelter Planners of America to do a needs assessment on the facility. Some of the summary of that report is in here. It's on our website, but I'd be happy to provide additional information from that plan if you're interested. But they identified a 6,100 square foot facility for a community the size of Rolla in a town of 46,000 people. And they estimated at that time, so this is 2014, that the total project cost would be just under $2 million, including soft cost, engineering fees, contingency, construction, and whatnot. Well, we all gasped at that price tag and went about trying to do something in a $1 million to $1.5 million range. And so after Bob Eck's very generous donation, we started our campaign and got up to about $700,000. Go ahead, Lori, if you want to go to the next slide. But we were just eroding our purchasing power by, quite frankly, inflation. We were not keeping up with the revenues, fundraising coming in, and we hosted the groundbreaking in May 3rd, 2022, to just build the Shella facility, knowing that we were just going to have to work with the community and finishing it out. We ended up taking bids on the proposal, included not just the main central area, but the northern wing is the Sally Port for security purposes and storage for the animal control truck when they deliver animals and pick up animals. And the lower part of that, the southern wing, is our education wing. It's our group meeting wing, birthday parties, all kinds of opportunities. So when we opened those bids, we found it attractive enough to take both of those wings. There were alternates in that bid project. And that was a $465,000 shell that was awarded. So back when we presented this in April of 2025, you'll see that we had the concrete area in the back kennel, but nothing further, and really just stud walls in the front. If you look at the progress been made over the last 4 or 5 months, really due to the work of Public Works and Dick Barrick and Kent Bagnall and others. You can go to the next slide if you would. We've now got the kennel area in the back laid with brick. That was a $130,000 contract to lay all of that brickwork. We've also moved into insulation on the front lobby area, and just in the last couple of weeks, we've ordered a contract to put the drywall in the ceiling, which is the next step before we can move into the HVAC in the front part of the building. We have to fully secure this building entirely from the outside influences so that somebody doesn't get in there and strip it of its copper and HVAC systems. And so securing it is kind of the next step before moving into that HVAC. So this has been progress done over the last 3 or 4 months. But where are we at today? We still are about $250,000 to $300,000 short on getting a project completed. And we're just going to continue to work with the council through the budgeting process in the community and trying to close that gap further. And we've had some real progress. But I wanted to step back a little bit and talk about who SAVE is. SAVE is the group, it was the citizens group that organized about 10 years ago called Save, Neuter, Adopt, Volunteer, and Educate. Right? For every good acronym, you got to sort of back into it with how you describe that. We set about an initial campaign of $1.5 million. And I'm including a number of the names of the folks that were very involved in the first several years in forming the fundraising task force. They laid out the strategy in 2016 before City Council. We had our advanced giving in 2016. Did the Bob Eck donation. We had the Rainy Run, the Day Family, Phelps County Humane Society. Most recently, the Loving Paws had a really successful event in spring. So all told, we've received in donations and interest $979,465. With those dollars, if you go to the next slide, I put a little larger version of this in the council packet so you can see it a little easier than what was in the PowerPoint. This is just really an annual tracking of the interest on those dollars and with the donations, and you'll see that aside from Bob Eck's donation in 2012, when we launched the campaign, our largest single year was in 2017, where we raised about $96,000. And then since then, we've been hovering around that $40,000, $50,000 range. This year, we'll actually outperform that because the Loving Paws, this does not include their money. This was as of July 31st. In fact, we've just talked with them, and they're going to be supplying those $52,000 plus or minus in the next weeks. And that's going to really help us make some final improvements this year. So again, some major category expenses. The feasibility study was $23,000. We've spent at least $20,000 on fundraising. The architectural design of the building was $120,000. The shell was $465,000 done by Cahill's. City crews are doing a lot of the site prep and the utility work. We've done interior so far, the kennel area, both the flooring and the block work. We're working the lobby office area, sub-plumbing, and some framing. That's actually today about $260,000. But the next steps are going to be the HVAC, the drywall paint and flooring, site work, cages, and the furnishings, fixtures, and equipment to accommodate the facility. So we are making progress, but it has been slow, unfortunately. So, we've highlighted a few of the things that we've done over those years for fundraisers. The shelter bricks, we're just kind of wrapping that up. I think we netted about, was it Lori, about $13,000 on the shelter brick program. Seemed like we got about 70 bricks of that. Yeah, can't remember the exact number. The Rainy Run, which has been going on for 8 years? 9 years. And is probably up over $85,000 in the cumulative of what they've done. The donation boxes are still kind of littered around the community and businesses, and Dawn Smith has done a great job of really staying persistent with them. Dawn Smith and Sue Daly did the trivia night. We collectively did a Safari Cub Creek Camp event a couple of years ago, and most recently was the Living Paws Again event on April 26th. The very next event that we have that we wanted to sort of tout and promote is the Rainy Run, which is September 20th, so the 9th year of that. It's been done at Veterans Memorial Park every year. It's a lot of fun. It's a great time in the morning. They now add dog shows and puppy parade, and I think the theme is superheroes or Baywatch. Yes, that's right. Hey, have you done the video? Okay. So you got to see the video. These ladies are very, very creative. So just wanted to provide that update for you. I'm happy to answer any questions. But the next step is we really need to get the HVAC temperature control in the front half of that building. The back half where the animal kennels are, that all has a subfloor radiant heat in it. So, that space is going to be much better than what they currently have, but it's not a fully air-conditioned back kennel space. It's going to have radiant floor heat, and it'll have lots of air circulation during the summer months. And then I don't know if Judy Jepson made it. Is Judy here? Let's see, Judy. Judy actually has a dog that she adopted from the shelter named Annie that has become the mascot for the Phelps County Sheriff's Department version of VIPS. And so we were going to show off Annie for you. But if you ever get a chance, Judy has been a big supporter of animal control or animal care for many, many years, and she continues to be a big part of our efforts. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
I will say I'm glad to see progress definitely being made.
It's taken a community.
I take my kids out there. I've got a friend who's staying with me while they get back on their feet. She was going through withdrawals from missing her pet. I took her out there and every time I go there, I love taking the pets, but it is disheartening where it's at.
Yeah, it needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
Members of the group, would you raise your hands so we can thank you? Okay, old business, we have none tonight. You guys were so efficient 2 weeks ago. New business, we have two. First one is to consider an ordinance vacating an easement.
All right. Yes, this is a vacation of an easement at 418 Hutchinson Drive. This is the area map showing the property. Basically, what's going on is this is another one of the ones where the city is bringing forward. The person who owns the property did not ask for this. You might remember over the year we've done several vacations of rights-of-way, of unneeded rights-of-way in the city. Also tried to take a look and try to find if there was any easements that were blatantly unnecessary. And going through all that, this is the only one that I could find that was very was not needed and also very easy to vacate. So basically what it was is a blanket easement was created, and a blanket easement basically is an easement that says wherever this utility is, it's allowed to remain there, but it doesn't define exactly where that's at. So that in essence creates an impact on the entire property, especially in this case is now the utility isn't there anymore. So we don't know whether this easement is there, we don't know where it was and whatnot. And so and it was in particular for a sewer easement, and so since the sewer line is no longer on the property, there's and this property compared to other properties, they would have had to like do some surveying to find out if some easement could be removed as opposed to some other areas that didn't. But in this case, this is a blanket easement, and we know that no sewer easement is needed. We can vacate the entire easement on the property. So just to summarize, there are no utilities located in this easement. It's not needed for any utilities, and it should help clear the title of the property owner so they don't have to come in and ask for this. We did send a letter out to the property owner, just basically said if you have any problems with this, reach out, and gave them a month or so, and didn't hear from them, so I assume they don't have any problem with it. But it would, as I said, it should help clear any title issues if any would come up. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Tom? If not, can we have the first reading?
An ordinance approving the vacation of an easement located at 418 Hutchinson Drive.
Next item under new business is to consider a resolution to rename Sandstone Street to Sandstone Drive.
All right, yes, this is a strange one. One of the neighbors in this area is actually here tonight if you need any background information from him. But basically, many years ago when this is an area map showing the areas. Basically, this is kind of near Coventry Park. There's a street in that area that kind of makes a bend. It was originally platted as Sandstone Street. Then when like street signs went up, all the sign said was just Sandstone. And then our early GIS, our computer city maps, just said Sandstone. And when people came in to get building permits to build these houses, everybody just kind of assumed it was Sandstone Drive. So when they put in their applications, they said Sandstone Drive on our early applications. And then at some point, the GIS got updated and it was tied into our building permitting system. And so then when people would apply for permits, like remodels and things like that, after that, it would be under the Sandstone Street, because that's how our system defaulted to. There was no in the system, there was no Sandstone Drive. But the result of all that chaos is that everybody kind of lived in this area, assumed it was Sandstone Drive, and they've gotten their IDs Sandstone Drive, and the mail. The post office has it as Sandstone Drive. I don't know how they got that. But then a couple of years ago, as I said, our mapping caught up with this 10 or 15 years ago. Like 2 years ago, the Public Works Department went out to put up new street signs as they were worn out, and put up the correct street signs as Sandstone Street. And one of the neighbors saw that and they said, "Oh, geez, I must have made a mistake all along. My driver's license says Sandstone Drive. It's supposed to be Sandstone Street." And so went on an effort to try to correct that, and was running against brick walls just every step of the way. It's like the post office said, "No, Sandstone Drive. We can't change your address," and so on, because all the systems besides the city apparently had Sandstone Drive. So that person went door to door and talked to everybody, and everyone on that street is using Sandstone Drive. And so it seemed to, instead of fixing the glitch, and like 911 had it as Sandstone Drive even, instead of fixing the glitch and correcting that, it seems like it'd make a lot more sense for us just to rename the street, so everybody on that street doesn't have to change all their IDs and whatnot at this point. And so that's what this is all about. So basically, in order to rename a street, we've got to get a resolution from City Council, and then I've got to put an ad in the newspaper and give people time to object. We have already sent letters out to everybody also. I heard from 2/3 of them. Everyone I heard from said that it was, they used Sandstone Drive. Anyway, and so then this will come back before the City Council in about a month and a half. If you choose to approve the resolution, it'll come back with an ordinance. have any questions for me?
So Tom, the post office is using Sandstone Drive?
Yes.
So everybody on the street's gotta be using Sandstone Drive then, right? How did, we don't know how that happened?
I think just people made assumptions. Like I said, I thought that's my best guess is the sign just said Sandstone, and every other street, that's kind of why I zoomed out. Every other street in the area has a drive. And so I think everybody just assumed it was drive.
I'm having issues over there on Clemens. Post office says it's Clemens Avenue. City list says Clemens Street.
Uh-oh.
I haven't ran
I
into
thought my
that
whip
much
was done.
trouble yet, but, you know, with driver's license and that, but we all were talking at a barbecue, you know, we had for, you know, neighbors and that. And everybody's like, no, it's Avenue. All our mail says Avenue. But when we get our electric bill, it says street.
Okay. I need to look into that.
Okay, there's no other questions for Tom.
I'm just struggling with the resolution itself, not the purpose. The resolution to deem it necessary to rename Sandstone Street. So what are we doing with this resolution?
You're asking me. So
Well,
I'm
I assume you
following
wrote
this. Yeah, Are you confused with the title or the reason why we're doing a resolution? Let's start
Well,
with
okay, I understand the need for change, okay? So I'm not asking about that. I'm asking is why are we doing a resolution basically to have another resolution at some point in the future?
Well, in the future, it'll be an ordinance.
Okay.
As far as why do we need a resolution? I don't know. That's how it's been done with all the others, so
And
I
think
assume that's how we're supposed to do
statute.
it.
It's a squirrely provision on changing a street name. It's a crazy hurdle. And we've always done it with a resolution that triggers the 4-weekly insertion in the newspaper and then bring it back for an ordinance. So the actual wording, I think it was done, quite frankly, by a prior city attorney, but the statutes do require this resolution that initiates the process of notifying the property owners of the change.
Okay. I will accept that on face value.
We can get it to you.
77-220.
Would you like to read such resolution?
He's going to check it
I'll
first.
read the title. I am going to check I'm curious what this, because I'm not familiar with that process. Of course, I don't see a lot of name changes, but.
Not to rush you, but.
Yeah.
How quickly are you gonna find this?
Well, I'll read it now. I'll do it.
Well, if you read it, we're gonna vote on it, so.
Okay.
You want me to come back to it? We'll go to the next
No,
item.
no,
Come back?
I'm willing to accept this process on face value. Strange as it may be. A resolution to deem it necessary to rename Sandstone Street to Sandstone Drive and to authorize the public notification process for said street name change.
I move to accept.
I'll second.
With a lukewarm endorsement by our council. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Claims and/or fiscal transaction. We have one item on the agenda here, but it's really a 1A, 1B, and 1C. So John's going to start with 1A and 1B, and I'll do 1C.
Yeah, let me give a little bit of background, and of course, I think City Council's had a chance to be studying things, all things center-related for years, although many of you are new on City Council. So just for a little bit of history, in 2020, the city entered into a 5-year operating agreement with Power Wellness to manage the center. Power Wellness collects all the program and membership revenues and pays all expenses associated with the day-to-day operating costs. The city then budgets and covers any operating shortfall. In this year's budget, so the fiscal year 25, which ran from October 1 through September 30th, 2025, the city council had approved a budget with $435,000. We did that last September. The council at that time said, well, okay, we're willing to do that, but we want to be monitoring this more closely. So they asked us to come back, and even though they approved the budget, in the ordinance approving the budget, it said we're going to approve 3 months for the center, the subsidy, and then after that, we'll come back and revisit for the next 6 months, and then we'll take up the last quarter of the fiscal year. And so that's what council done. The previous council had appropriated the 9 months of that $435,000. They have not appropriated, or you have not appropriated the last quarter, July, August, and September, which is the amount of $108,750. So in the budget, but this authorized the actual expenditure. I wish that were all it was, but that was based on a budget that we adopted last September, and that was on the hope that we were going to be able to make up the rest of that through members and memberships and programming activities. And unfortunately, we have not been able to do that. As you see on the monthly reports that we get from Power Wellness that we include in the council packets, virtually every month beyond that subsidy or that operating cost, we're incurring $20,000 to $25,000 a month in additional costs in running the center. Cumulative for this year and running it out through September 30th is going to require an additional $285,000 budget adjustment to get through fiscal year 2025. So those are the real asks that we're asking specifically from a fiscal standpoint for fiscal year 25. It's the fourth quarter appropriation and an additional $285,000 to get us through September 30th of 2025. Maybe a little bit of context as to why we are short that amount off of the budget. It's really 4 contributing factors. Memberships are down. We had planned to be at about 2,100 members. We're sitting right at about 1,900 members. Every member averages a spend of $35. So our membership fees over there are anywhere from $42 to $45 unless you add on additional folks, and then there's a fee of additional $30 or $35. And so the average spend per member at the rec center is $35. It's actually about 36, but close. Our aquatics programming, we had budgeted revenues to cover at least some of those costs, and those have just not materialized to the degree that we had budgeted. So we're short, I don't know, $40,000, $50,000, something like that on aquatic revenue programming. Then on the expense side, we went into this year's budget with a plan with Power Wellness that we were going to drastically reduce lifeguarding. But there was a real question as to the legality of pulling back lifeguards, and even maybe more critical is the liability associated with best practices. And so it really took Power Wellness many months to kind of do their own due diligence on that. So the budget reflected a significant cost in lifeguarding, and then it took us months to feel comfortable in making that decision. As of today, all we've done is we've eliminated the lifeguards at the 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. Lap swimmers, and those are skilled people that are comfortable in the water and just didn't justify or require lifeguarding at that point. But we've still kept the pool open for the other hours of the day for family swim, and we do have lifeguards there. But we debated whether we could roll that back, and we just struggled making some of those decisions from a liability standpoint and from a legal standpoint. But we were able to verify that there are no laws in Missouri that you have to have a lifeguard, but you have to be able to, post things appropriately. And so that's the third reason, lifeguard cost. And the most significant one is that facility is now 25 years old. And we budgeted about $30,000 in building maintenance expenses, and we're over $110,000 at this point. We are experiencing major mechanical breakdowns in many of the components of the building, from the HVAC, plumbing, pumps, and much of that's attributed to the Natatorium. We last replaced the pool pack, which is the air circulation system for the pool itself, 12 years ago. It was a $450,000 expense 12 years ago. The life of those are 10 to 12 years, and we're really just keeping it together with baling wire. And so we don't know when it's going to go, but today they're saying that that replacement is going to be $500,000 to $550,000 for the next pool pack. So those are the reasons why this year performed $285,000 worse than what we budgeted last September. So those are a couple of asks that we're asking City Council: a motion to authorize the fourth quarter budget appropriation of $108,750 and a budget amendment to authorize the additional $285,000. And the only place that comes from today is from the general fund. Prior to about 5-6 years ago, we had the original sales tax that built up reserves, and that's what really floated and subsidized the center. But we've been out of the original 15-year sales tax for several years, and so now when there's additional shortfalls, it's not just the original $435,000, but the additional $285,000 is going to have to come out of the general fund. So those are a couple of asks. And then we really are prepared to talk about the Natatorium and just some of the unique situations there, but do you want to do that now, Lou, or do you want to
No, let's
have
get,
motions?
these two have to get done. So let's, any questions regarding, and we'll handle them as separate motions, the two financial adjustments.
Yeah, so just out of curiosity, what happens if these first two do not pass?
Well, I would say the first one, I shouldn't say has to pass. The council approved that in the budget, and so it's subject to this motion. If the other doesn't pass, then quite frankly, we're in default of the agreement with Power Wellness.
Okay.
And we'll just have to deal with a contract dispute there.
All right, I was just wondering what the consequences were either side.
Well, the unsaid thing too, though, is you're shutting the place down the next day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I should say, in your packet, I included the budget for next year. That is a draft budget. That's not a finished, so I was really doing that really more to show you the 2025 estimate, not necessarily 2026. We'll present that at the workshop coming up, but just want to draw that qualifier.
So which request do you want to do first?
I'd like to do
In order.
the fourth quarter budget appropriation of $108,750.
Jackson will make the motion to authorize the fourth quarter budget appropriation of $108,750.
Raven will second.
So is this a roll call? No. Motion made in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Second request.
Is for the additional funds to cover really the operating loss to this date and then through September 30th, which is the end of fiscal year 2025, which is $285,000 projection.
I move to authorize a budget amendment to the center fund up to $285,000 to continue center operation through September 30th, 2025.
Barrett will second.
Motion made in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you for that. The last item, most or all of the council has heard what I'm about to say, has participated in discussion. So I think my remarks are more going to be directed to the public at this time. I want to talk about the natatorium. I'll get right to the heart of the matter. John and I are recommending that the natatorium portion of the center be temporarily closed on October 1st. The reasons. The center right now has a net loss of about $60,000 per month. And for a lot of years, we had the sales tax to fall back on. When COVID came, we had grant money that was there to float the boat for a little while, so on and so forth. But we have no other funding sources right now to subsidize the operation of the center. For the public's information, the park tax is not allowed by the voters for us to use in any way, shape, or form for the center. It could be used on the grounds because it's sitting in a park, but it cannot be used for the center itself. That was a decision made at the ballot box. With that, the money that we are now being used, that you have been authorizing prior to tonight and tonight, is coming from the general fund. The general fund, the city's finances work, you'd like to think it's like your house where we have one checkbook. Well, we don't. We have multiple checkbooks, and they are all siloed to the point where certain tax money goes into certain funds, and that's where it stays. You can't cross back and forth. So the capital improvement tax goes for the streets and so on and so forth. The library goes to the library, park goes to the park funds. The general fund then is the general checking account, but the two biggest hitters in that fund are public safety, which is police and fire. and I didn't see this year's budget projection, but generally that represents about 70% of the general fund expenditures. We no longer have the excess cash flow or revenues coming through the general fund to continue to fund these operations at these levels. So for $65,000 or $60,000 a year, we don't yet have an answer how to keep per month to keep the building going. If you dig within the $60,000 a month and you focus on the Natatorium, the Natatorium is an expensive piece of real estate. It was very expensive to build. Way back when we built it, I remember that the water portion of the Natatorium cost somewhere around $250 a square foot 28 years ago. And the gymnasium and the lobby costed $10, $15, $20 a square foot. So it's a very expensive area to build and maintain. It's number one. Number two, when we built that, we put a number of features in there that in retrospect, looking back through the rearview mirror of 28 years, I'm not so sure we would have built it quite like that. I think what we tried to do was to satisfy a number of user groups, lap swimmers, something for the kids to play in the zero entry, an area for water aerobics, and we ended up being neither fish nor fowl and not having an area that would allow us to optimize the revenue, which would have been programming, or optimize the operations. A good example of the latter is the pumping of the system. We did not have the money years ago to put in a dual pump system for a second. Now, people that lap swim prefer cooler water than those doing therapy, for instance. We would like to have the ability today to go back and forth and say, okay, if we don't have a lot of usage on the kiddie pool, let's turn that off and just keep the pumps going for the lap pool or something like that. The plumbing system does not allow for that. We built a big room with a very high ceiling and a lot of windows. That is a lot of area to heat, a lot of area to cool, and a lot of air to treat for humidity, which is what the quote-unquote pool pack does. So we've kind of limited our ability to grow the programming, and we've limited our ability to sort of tweak the cost side of the equation. So if you look at the operating cost, we've identified the cost less the associated revenue. So the revenue that's attributable to those that are paying for training classes, for instance, and some portion of why people are to the members. We've estimated that to be a certain number of people. When you net the expenses out with from the revenue, we figure there's about $20,000 a month, maybe a little bit more, maybe closer to $25,000 a month, that's a loss. So of the 60,000 that were negative, we think 20 or 25 of that is associated with the operation of just the natatorium. As a point of reference, if you, and you say, okay, that's not good, but as a point of reference, the outdoor pool in a typical year also, I hate to use the word lose money, but it does. We subsidize the operation of the outdoor pool, and I think that's about $250,000 a year right now. So on an annualized basis, the outdoor pool certainly loses more than the indoor pool when you look at 3 months versus 12 months, just as sort of a point of reference. The underlying difference is the park tax allows for the operation of the outdoor pool. Park tax does not allow for the operation of the indoor pool. So there's our predicament. On the one hand, we don't have a lot of flexibility managing that operation to cut any cost in any significant way. That's number one. And number two, the prospect of substantially increasing revenues is rather dim. There's another part that's out there. So even if you miraculously were able to do that on the operational basis, we've got the capital cost. There's a slide that's been shut down now for quite a long time for safety reasons, and that's embarrassing. It is utterly embarrassing that we have that slide in that facility and we have it roped off. but to replace that is $90,000 to $100,000. The pool pack, which John alluded to, is going to fail. When, we don't know. Could be tomorrow, could be next week. If that fails, the facility gets shut down because we don't have $500,000 to just write a check to fix that pool pack. And even if we did, you'd have to ask the question, should you? What could you do versus what you should do, for example. The last one is the plaster on the pool. We've had some complaints the past year where people see the discoloration on the side of the pool, and their assumption is it's mold, it's dirt, it's this, that, or the other thing. It's not. It's not anything to do with cleanliness. The plaster is failing. The plaster is falling off, and you can see it in the actual collection sumps, where you're now fishing out, wet plaster. Well, sooner or later, you're going to ruin those filters and you're going to ruin those pumps. Just a matter of time. Replacing the plaster is $200,000, conservatively speaking. So we have an operational problem. How do we continue to fund the facility, and how do you continue to fund the natatorium? And then also knowing that we have $750,000 or more that's sitting on the side that we might have to write a check for if any one of those things break. So I used the term, when I started this, temporarily close. So the concept would be to temporarily close it so we don't have to write a short-term check for any one of those big capital items. And we can take that $20,000 and help put it towards keeping the rest of the building open and running until we have a viable alternative that is sustainable. Now, the idea that we are presenting is to come back probably in April and visit the issue with the voters. Now, the question is, what do we want to issue? What we've done 28 years ago, maybe the answer is to redo it, maybe it's not. I'm not promoting any one of these ideas. What I'm just suggesting, if we do this over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, or certainly well before April, the community has to give us some guidelines. For example, do we need 2 pools? Do we really need an outdoor pool, and do we really need an indoor pool? Okay, on one hand, you'd say, well, the indoor pool, you can use 12 months out of the year. The outdoor pool, you can use 3 months out of the year, as an example. Could you convert one of them into, particularly the outside one, can you convert that into a splash pad, which today a lot of places have, and kids use those. Maybe you close it down, you put multiple splash pads around in the community. They are a lot cheaper to build, you don't have lifeguards, and you have a pretty small pump that's just recircling water. So the question of the pools, I think the community is going to have to decide amongst those options. You could also reconfigure that area within the natatorium and convert it to some sort of other use, some multi-use floor. Maybe you have indoor pickleball, maybe you have indoor tennis, maybe you have an indoor area for youth soccer practice, maybe you have a batting cage. I don't know. I'm not here to advocate for any one of those things. The community is going to have to decide all of this well before we go to the ballot. So that's the underlying reason for the request. Questions?
I have a question about, in the prospect of shutting down the natatorium, I guess my concern with that, and this is a concern which has been passed on to me from some of my constituents, which is the question of, should the voters go forward to fund the natatorium in the future, how hard will it be to reopen it? What is the maintenance during this down period? And in short, does this create?
It's a good question.
Whether or not it means to a kind of fait accompli that it will in fact be taken away because, we've lived without it and so we don't need it anymore. That's 2 questions.
Well, I think you asked 2 questions.
Yes, I did.
So let's answer the first one.
Please.
If we shut down in October And let's assume that the voters in April say, yes, we want the natatorium, and yes, we're going to authorize a tax. So let's cut right to the chase. It needs to be at least $1 million a year if we're going to keep the facilities open, all right? So that's order of magnitude. The second thing is, before we reopen, that's the time to do all the work. So the first money that's going to get spent is to replaster the walls, put the pool pack in, and get it all snuffed up, and then you open it up. So realistically, if that's what the voters choose to do, you're looking sometime in late 2026 just to be able to do that work. There's another issue, and that is, where do you get the money? So the city does not have the operating cash flow to do any of this with. So we're going to have to borrow money. There's a certain amount of money, you'll hear it in the budget presentation next week. There's a certain amount of money we can borrow within the city accounts, if you will, that would have to be paid back. So there's, I don't know, $400,000, give or take, that we can borrow internally, but we're also going to have to go to a bank and borrow money.
And this is for the capital expenses?
This would be for both.
For both, okay.
In order to keep the operation going. So understand that keeping the operation going means you're doing it with borrowed money that one day has to be paid back somehow, some way. So the answer to your question is yes, you would go ahead and do that. There's a timing issue. If the voters approve a tax in April to fund a rebuild, a renovation, or anything else for that matter, the tax goes into effect. I got to write this down because it's confusing. It goes into effect the first day following the first calendar quarter after the quarter of the election. So what that means is, if the voters say on April 2nd, we approve, there will be no money coming to the city coffers from that new tax until October. So what that means is, if you're looking at options to reopen, renovate, or to keep the place going, you're going to have to make, not you, but yes, you will, you're going to have to make a budget decision at the end of this month to fund that period of time, which is about $750,000. Just make this real clear. You can't do what you did this year and say, well, we'll give you a couple of months and we'll try. You did that once for a good reason, it was successful. You're going to have to go into 26 one way or another. You want to keep these things open, you're going to have to authorize in the budget a minimum of $720,000, knowing full well that we are going to internally borrow some portion and externally borrow some portion.
Can I ask a
Correct me
follow-up?
if I got anything wrong.
No, except the sales tax would take effect October 1, approved in April. We wouldn't see our first revenues until December.
Okay, it's even
We're still a
worse.
2-month lag from going into effect and us receiving it back from the state.
Okay. Can I ask a follow-up, please? This has to do with the maintenance of the natatorium. I know that there's no predicting when any of these elements might fail, be it the pack or the plaster, but do you have some kind of internal rough estimate of when you think it might go? And, I mean, I guess I'm trying to get at the question of, if we vote today to suspend the natatorium, or if we don't, rather, could it be that conditions suspend it for us sooner rather than later?
So you got a decision that's based on two components.
Yes.
Put the capital aside.
Okay.
Let's just say we're dead wrong, and that thing miraculously, nothing breaks until April. Put that aside just for a second. We still have to find a way to fund $60,000 a month to keep the place open. So that's really your first decision. The second one is the what if.
And our company who does our service work is telling us it could go anytime. You might get another year out of it, but it could at this point go anytime.
Okay, thank you.
And just so it's hard to grasp what a pool pack is. It was helpful for Josh to send me a picture. It's, if you look at the back of the building of the rec center around the right side where the dumpsters, it's that massive HVAC system basically on the outside of the natatorium that pulls all the air in and out of the facility, of the natatorium specifically. It's not what you would think of in a typical HVAC unit. It's a massive unit because of the very corrosive nature of being in an indoor facility with chlorination. So that's why it was already changed. So we changed it 12 years into the operation, and we're beyond that at this point on the second one.
I'm not familiar with procedures, I hate to interrupt, but are we gonna get to speak before you vote on this, or are the public gonna get to comment on the situation?
There's a part of the agenda that will allow public comment, and I think it'll be council's decision if they want to vote tonight and when they want to vote. So I'll have to defer to them.
I would appreciate it if we could speak before you vote.
It's up to council. Let's hold that question. Let them finish their discussion first. And then I'll ask the question if they want to defer their decision until after the public comment.
I get a lot of people kind of wondering the same thing, I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
So, Lou, I'm just trying to follow the math here. All right, so the whole center is currently losing in the neighborhood of 60 grand a month.
Right.
If we close the pool, or if we close the natatorium, pardon me, then that means that our operational overexpense is only $40,000 a month. So the center would still be losing in the region of $500,000 over the course of the year, that the city would still have to find a way to fund in the next fiscal budget. If we leave the pool open, then we're looking at $720,000 to fund over the next year in the next fiscal budget, and another $730,000 or so to fund for the capital that may be needed. So the pool pack, the plaster, and the slide. So we're looking at $1.5 million in the next year-ish to keep the center operational. Am I getting that right, essentially?
The math is right.
Okay.
However, I would suggest that before you spend $750,000 renovating the natatorium, the community should discuss that. And look, we have an extremely loyal group of people that use the natatorium. You know, and of all the places over there, the health benefits are significant, right? The people that you know, we're not talking about kids, we're talking about people my age that have arthritis and all these other areas. So the benefit associated with the natatorium is considerable for the group of people that are using it. That group of people is not big enough to operate the place. So the question for the community is, and I'm aware of sensitivities and emotions on the issue, but that's the cold hard reality of if you're going to spend $750,000, the community should weigh in on what that's for. Do you really want the natatorium restored, or do you really want it reconfigured in some way, or do you want it turned into a different use and then just do something outside? That's a big number to spend, and I think we need the community to weigh in on that one.
I'd like to table this discussion until after we hear comments from the people who hear about this topic.
McNevin will second.
Motion made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Okay. With that, we go right into citizen communication. Everybody's welcome to speak. We prefer about 3 minutes. And please give your name to the clerk.
Larry Tate, 1829 Sandstone, Ward 3. Thank you on the street change name. It's greatly appreciated. I'm going to go back and report to the citizens that it has started. Who over here said they were having the same problem? Good luck.
Oh, we don't have it, we didn't have as much trouble as you guys did.
Apparently, there is an address verification out there, and they decide what your address is.
And Google Earth
It doesn't have anything to
vehicle
do
is
with
not, is causing issues too, because our
But,
sign.
yeah, well, we've had problems with that. People who put in street and the stuff will be dropped off at Coventry Park, and
Yep.
things like that. But Social Security was the big one. I tried to do that. That's not you. The university, Missouri Department of Revenue, all that. It has to be drive, or they won't accept
Yep.
it.
Ours, yeah, that's what I was having trouble, Avenue, Social Security.
Yeah. It gets worse the older you get. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Whoa.
Thank you. Beat the rush.
I'm a member of the community. I'm a retired military attorney. Some of the folks here asked me to. Go ahead.
Do they have to state their name and address? Or
Yeah. My name's
residence?
Carlton Fredericy. Carlton, Carleton. Leton. Last name Fredericy, Frederici. I own some land and a house south of town here from when I was stationed in Fort Leonard Wood. Is that all you need, ma'am?
Sorry, it's just a formality, thank you.
You bet. Some of the folks here asked me to come up and talk just today, and I grabbed some of these cards and made some notes. Most of it I was thinking of the advantages of the Natatorium, but speaking to the money, I've talked to this before. I know before I came here, Who's Power Wellness, I've never heard of them. I worked for the YMCA through law school. I was a welder and worked at the YMCA as a personal trainer and a building manager throughout the whole of law school. And they make it work. They make the money. They have pools in almost all the facilities. They know how to market it. They know how to manage it. Now, I'd heard, this is hearsay, I don't know this, that they had wanted $1 million to come in here and do it. I don't know if you've ever.
I could clarify that.
Yeah.
Just so you don't go too long on the why.
Right.
We've spoken to the Y a couple of times.
Mhm.
And the Y is not a philanthropic operation, and they come in and they charge for their services as well. Okay?
Mhm.
Their business model is a third, a third, a third. A third philanthropy, a third through programming, and a third through memberships. Okay?
Mhm.
Again, we've spoken to them twice. The amount of money that they view an area like this that could generate is tens of thousands of dollars. It's not millions of dollars. That's number one.
Mhm.
Number two, the Y facilities are not built like ours.
Mhm.
If we would have been in bed with the Y in the beginning, we would have never built a facility like that. You wouldn't have had those ceilings, you wouldn't have had that glass, and you would have had an exercise area that was 3 times the size of what we have.
Right,
So,
yeah.
so we've explored the why. The why is not an answer for us.
Okay. Because I know from my coming here, I didn't start here because they didn't have, nothing has reciprocity. Power Wellness, if I want to travel somewhere, my membership doesn't, go to anything else. If the Natatorium closes, I won't go there. I have weights at home. I mean, the only reason I go is for that, and I've talked to the people who work there, and I've talked to a lot of the people who are there. Most of the people who come in there on the regular, not getting ready for swimsuit season or wanting to look better or coming in at the New Year's resolution, most of the people who come there are for the Natatorium. I know myself, if it closes, I'll cancel my membership. My girlfriend and I will not be going there. I get a military discount, but still that's going to go from there. And I know a lot of the folks here, now obviously, we're the people, like you said, who are passionate about doing this, but this is a community health center. I meant to write my notes on there. Rolla Health is the first thing on it. If they close that, the people who are going to be hurt by this are disabled veterans. I've had 4 surgeries on my right leg that are service connected. I can't run anymore. It's going to affect my long-term health. I'll be 54 next week. It's going to affect my long-term health if I can't go there and exercise. I cannot get the exercise that I need, running. It's one of my only options that's going to work out for that. Who else? Like you said, senior citizens, children, special needs children are the people who use that facility. We've seen all, learning how to swim at a young age is important. We've seen all the floods down in Texas. How many low water crossings do we have in this county? I mean, children need to learn to swim. As far as I know, there's no other facility. When I was at Leonard Wood, I would swim there. I know a chaplain who comes here to swim because I don't think they're open anymore. So, I mean, where are people and children going to learn to swim here? And where are people, I mean, I understand another basketball court or the cost. Basketball is a great game. I love it. But it's not something that doctors recommend after you've had a surgery. I mean, this is a facility for this area, as far as I know, like I said, a 50-mile area. There's people that come here from Salem, Cuba, everywhere else to come here. They come here and spend money in the town. I think there's going to be a huge budget drop-off if they close that. I don't know if it's, where it's going to go from there. I'm not an expert about it. But I think that's going to make a difference economically. Yeah. That's just kind of where I see it. People come here from all around, and then they come into town and spend money in the town. They'll buy dinner, they hang out with their friends, they do something like that. Like I said, I'm not going to go there anymore. I can lift weights at home. We've got Planet Fitness. We've got a lot of other places. The Natatorium is the one thing that's bringing a lot of people in there, in my opinion, just from my asking around there. And there's going to be a huge cratering of it. And I think once it closes, you'll never get that back open again. The maintenance on it. Like I said, before I became a JAG attorney, I was an aircraft maintenance officer. You don't use something, it goes to pot. Maybe we can keep that air handler going. Maybe we can get through it. But I mean, if it closes, like I said, I'm going to quit. And a lot of people, I think, also are. So I think I've covered most of what people said.
You know what the number one cause in Missouri of child death is?
No.
Drowning. And it would break my heart if we were not able to offer swim lessons.
Right.
To
And the scouts
to your point, given the number of ponds and creeks and everything else around the state of Missouri, that we have always felt that youth swim lessons in particular are a very valuable service.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I also wrote on there the lifeguards. I mean, the scouts and the lifeguards come there to learn. Someone might do a self-rescue, or someone might rescue someone else from what they learn there. I feel like it's a facility that's just not equaled anywhere else, and it's it's something to be proud of here in this community. So it's for the health of the community. It says right in there, Rolla's Health and Recreation Complex, right after Rolla's Health, and that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jill Johnson. I'm a resident of Phelps County, and I have been a member of the center since it opened, literally. I joined specifically to be able to use the pool. I am here today to ask you to try to find an alternative to closing the pool. I would like to make 4 short points. Number 1 is water safety, which you guys just talked about. Drownings have recently increased across the United States in the last 5 years. One of the main reasons is lack of access to a pool for swim lessons. There are many children and many adults actively involved in swim lessons now at the center. I'm there every day. I see these lessons going on. I see the progress that the adult swimmers especially are making. If you shut the pool, even for only 3 months, they will all lose progress. Your constituents deserve to have access to a pool for swim lessons and general water safety training. Number 2, the health benefits. Water therapy offers numerous benefits for physical and mental well-being. I am a retired physical therapist, and I, over the last 45 years, obviously have seen the benefits of the water therapy. This is especially true for the elderly who suffer with arthritis and other musculoskeletal deficits, and for the severely handicapped who benefit from the soothing quality of the water. And there are many other chronic conditions that afflict people of all ages that benefit from exercise in the water. Since its opening, the center has provided several hours of water aerobics classes every day, and many of your constituents rely on this form of exercise. There are also many water walkers and lap swimmers, of whom I'm included, depend on these activities for their health. If you close the pool, your constituents will have significant health declines that may be irreversible. My third point is competition. There are many of us who enjoy competing in swim events. There are master swimmers events, Missouri State swimming, and national senior competitions and triathlon events in which we participate. There is no substitute to train for swimming except to swim. My fourth point is socialization. Those of us who use the pool frequently at the same time have formed a social bond due to the love of water and shared health benefits. Several of my buddies are in the room tonight. Some of us have done this for several years. Social interaction is key to aging well, and the pool offers this interaction for us. If the pool closes, you will deprive us of our enjoyable socialization. The center is the only public indoor pool between Lebanon and Washington, between Jefferson City and West Plains. Most of our people that use the pool are unable to drive the more than 60 miles any direction to access a pool. I did have 2 suggestions for the future. Try to join the YMCA system if possible, and then I don't know how it would work, but maybe make it a Phelps County facility instead of a city facility, or a Phelps regional facility to draw in more tax dollars. Thank you very much.
I am Dr. Stecker. I agree with everything that's been said. First of all, a giant thank you from all of us to Mayor Lou Magnitz, who was instrumental and fundamental in that we have the facility at all. So thank you. Thank you. Do you need any more from me on spelling my name? Okay.
We're good, thank you.
Okay, good work on the spelling. Second, everybody who's here is a volunteer for the community, and I want to give another thank you from me. Thank you for everything you do. We actually talk about that at Panera. John Butts, I can't count how many times they've mentioned your names. Not that Lou isn't great too. So, thank you. Okay, so down to brass tacks. Lou, it doesn't make sense that you close the pool without asking the public, and that you do the other thing and asking the public. No, you keep the pool going. Now, I think Jill has stated these reasons very well, and I'm hoping we have people who will be happy to ask me. So, do I have a dog in this race? Yes. You may recall, I was on the initial center board, and I think basically you couldn't find anybody else, but also I may have had something to do about health and recreation. Okay, so let's talk about the financial drain. 20K a month or $250,000 a year. I want to put that $250,000 against one death from the people who are not in this room. The swimmers who can do the lap swimming are here lined up. Well, there's a few of us, aren't there? So the swimmers are here. The people who I've talked to in the clinic who view this the end of the ability to do these water aerobics, they're the lazy river walkers and the people who do the water exercise. And we have an incredible person leading the water exercise. You all know who she is. Thank you for being here. So Kathy keeps things going. Hey, Kathy. Okay, so and Lou, you were really good over a quarter century ago about that vision thing of making this thing happen that we all love so much. Tonight, I heard only dollars. I heard dollars and repairs. Some of that capital money is going to have to come from a bond issue. It's going to clearly. Don't make the decision to shut the pool and lose your audience here. Like you said, you're going to lose our attorney. So, key thing is the pool is not just for swimmers. It's for people who are hanging on preventing a stroke or a heart attack. I see this every day in the clinic. They can't walk, you know, and so I'm right there. You're seeing the healthy ones here tonight. So for many pool users, the only exercise is in the water. Is it worth $250,000 to keep these people healthy? Let's look at one hospitalization. That $250,000, we've got to weigh this. Let's include in the discussion the quality of life after a stroke or a heart attack. And let's remember those for whom even walking is painful. Please remember those folks. And please help people with arthritis and mobility problems in mind, and talk to the community before shutting down the pool. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Spector, we've known each other a long time, and I've said this before, after 32 years of being with the city, if someone asks me what's my proudest accomplishment, I'm going to tell them my name on the plaque on that building. So I did not come to this position lightly. I mean, this is something that I and others have been working a long time on, saving that facility. We're just to the point where there's nothing left in the checkbook. Now, council controls the budget. It's going to be their decision. They could move dollars around from this area to the other area, but John and I's role is to advise based on what we have in front of us. But I would agree with everything you said on the health benefits and the community spirit and the source of pride. I mean, again, you know, I've sat through these meetings for years with people bitching and moaning about that center. And I always tell them, look, how many communities our size have a facility that big, that nice, that great a shape, and paid for? Okay, so we have a lot to be proud of. It's just that right now, I know it sounds like it's just dollars, but those dollars are going to have to come to somewhere. And then the community is going to have to decide in April. So that's what council's choice is.
My answer is two. Moberly and Kabul, you asked how many communities. And they had the advantage of having gazillionaires to finance the thing. So there's a possibility ahead of us that something like that may happen. Just keep it going. Keep your good work in the past going. And before you shut it down, let the community have a say. And that's a plea from me to every member of the council. Thank you.
The community could certainly have a say, and I think I'm speaking for them, and will get a say. It's just a question of how do you fund it until that point.
My name is Kirk Gregory Bast. I'm a resident of Ward 3, speaking both on behalf of myself, my mother who's too infirm to be here tonight, and my 18-year-old son who's completely unable to speak, but who generally believes in swimming at the center only on days of the week that end in the letter Y. I know there are many in the crowd tonight who've seen me with my disabled son at the pool. It's one of the most consistent positive things that Rolla has been able to provide to my son. As a Rolla High graduate of '88 and a UMR graduate of '92, it will truly be a tragic day if you are forced to close the Natatorium. I understand, just as in Washington, D.C., they're looking at trillions in debt and no one wants to cut anything. I understand the monthly problem. But there has been a problem in the people who are operating it, and the shortfall. The failure of the big slide since August of 2023 has had severe repercussions in terms of the amount of membership and in the number of day passes that people come for. As someone who is there almost every Saturday with my disabled son, pre-pandemic, and even just after the mask came off, there were many more financially positive pool parties, Saturday and Sundays, that I'm witnessing, plus the larger crowds. That big slide being broken is tragic, but there's also, from my personal witnessing, hundreds of people who have turned away They've decided after paying for one day pass, they don't pay for membership because they don't want to turn to their 8, 10, 12-year-old and say, no, the big slide's broken, so you don't want to come back here anymore. The number of day passes, the number of money-generating pool parties every weekend, and the memberships. Someone here spoke of the memberships has dropped. I know of dozens of people personally who dropped their membership because the big slide wasn't working anymore, and that's why they weren't bringing their family. Try not to repeat all the sentimental stuff. You guys have some tough decisions. I know money is money. And yes, I know how I will vote come April. Do the best you can.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jane Haskell, and I just want to first off thank you all for letting us speak tonight to all of you, because a lot of us are here speaking from our heart, from what we consider as a very valuable part of the community of Rolla. I too have been a member of the center ever since the first day it opened, and I've always been very proud to show people our center when relatives come in or friends come in. I think that it's just a highlight that if a community our size has it. As for me personally, lately I have had some severe issues. I've had 8 different hip surgeries, 2 different back surgeries. The only place I now can find comfort and have found a lot of help has been in the water. And so it would be a tremendous personal loss for me to lose the pool accessibility, and to a lot of the other ladies that I work out with there. Also the encouragement of Kathy and of Marcy, who have been our leaders there, and the encouragement of all the ladies that I have made good friendships with have meant a lot too. It is a very wonderful thing to have here in our community. We should be very proud of it. And if a lot of us didn't have this, we would be left with a lot poor health than what we are in right now. So thank you for letting us speak tonight, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
My name is Sue Arnold. I lived in Rolla since 1959, and when my husband took a job with teaching in the local high school, I had a 5-year-old and a 2-month-old. I have seen the pools change so many times through the years, but I want to speak to you from the perspective of a senior citizen. I'm 91 years old, and I attribute my good health and my ability to live independently in my own home to the time that I'm able to spend in the pool. There's no other alternative for us in Rolla. Let's face it. I know you have a difficult decision to make, but it's really hard. I swim laps, and then I do water aerobics. Used to swim a mile a day and then do water aerobics right after that, but got so I would be kind of wiped out. My orthopedic surgeon told me that he said, you must have a strong heart. Hopefully I do. Anyway, I ask that you do everything you can to keep the pool open. It is so important for our health. We have one lady who is in our water aerobics group who is just recovering from triple bypass surgery. She's back in the water. Her doctor recommended it. So this is the health benefits that we derive from it are so great. Another aspect, I'm retired now, but for 42 years I worked as a real estate broker. I worked with a lot of families moving to Rolla. A lot of them were coming here just to interview and to look the community over. And one of the things that is really a hook for these families is the center. And the pool is an important part of that. I know things break down. When my heat pump went out, that's a big thing. If I didn't have money in my checking account, I went to my reserves. I know you have a lot of laws that you have to abide by and everything, but I pray that there is some alternative to closing the pool. It will have such a negative impact on our community. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sandy Van Aken, and I am a lap swimmer. I've been swimming laps for 25 years, 2 to 4 times a week. When I go to the pool in the morning, I see more people in the pool than I see in the gym facilities. There may be a few people riding a bike or a few people on a treadmill, but there's always a lot of people in the pool. It's a lot of money, and I understand that. And I don't have an answer for the money. But I just wish that you had listened when you were deciding on how to create the center, because I was a member of the Finn's board at the time. And we were invited as Finn's parents and board members for input regarding the center and regarding the Natatorium. And at that time, it was suggested that, and it was between you and I, Mr. Mayor, that we, instead of just 4 lanes, we extend 2 lanes out into the park and open up the pool for swim meets. I spent many hundreds of dollars at swim meets when my daughter was a Finn member, going to St. Louis or Springfield or Columbia or Jefferson City. And the revenue for the hotels, for the entrance fees, the money that we spent as parents in food when we were away was phenomenal. And I made a suggestion, if we could just redesign the pool a little bit, we could open that up. And it was told to me, we don't want that. And I was hurt because I was invited as a parent of a swimmer that we don't want to see our kids swim like that. We just want it to be a playtime or a play pool or just a 4-lane lap pool. So I just wish, we can't go back, okay? We can't go back. We have a big bill right now. I don't know how we're going to deal with it. In my heart, you're probably going to end up closing the Natatorium. And when you do that, you're probably not ever going to open it up again because it's going to be beyond repair. So I just wish that maybe we could have avoided this if maybe we could have listened to what some of the parents were saying when you were asking us how you wanted to create it. That's all. Thank you.
Cindy, I'm not going to let you off that easy. 'Cause I
Okay.
do remember those discussions. And the mistake that we made was, and I alluded to when we started, we tried to please too many groups.
I agree.
So the Finns were a passionate group, okay?
Very.
And I understand where you were coming from, as others did. But we had others that wanted other things as well. They wanted the walking area, they wanted the therapy pool. And we only had so much bonding capacity. We couldn't have, if the way we built that pool, we couldn't have put those other 2 lanes on because it was more than 2 lanes. There was more decking because you wanted to have seating for meets and stuff like that. We ran out of bonding capacity. We borrowed as much as we legally could under the bonds because there was another group that wanted a 3rd gymnasium as well. So it's not that somebody didn't want the lapland, but at the time, there was a trade-off.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, if we could have reconfigured what we have right now.
It's possible, and I think that's the second point. I think it's a false assumption to say that if it shuts down for a period of time, it won't ever reopen. If the community wants it reopened, that's doable. It's doable by authorizing a sales tax in April. At that point, you would renovate the pool. And if the community wants 6 lanes, then you could probably do that as well. I mean,
I
you can't blow out the wall and go that way,
Yeah,
but you
I-
could go the other way.
Well, I don't know about that. I honestly, in my heart of hearts, I don't see that happening. I see the community, and there's a lot of other people here that want to keep the pool open because of health, exercise, and all those things too. I see that if we can get our community to just get it like it is now and better, I'm fine with that.
It's doable. It's
Okay.
going to take the community to authorize a sales tax. If that happens, all of this is possible.
Okay, well,
And somebody has to go into the community and advocate for that, because we can't.
There's
Oh,
nobody sitting here right now that want to see the pool
Let's
shut
go
down.
back 28 years. Is Dr. Stucker still here?
Yeah, he is.
Where is he?
Yep.
Okay. Let's go back to 28 years ago, 29 years ago, and how did the center come about? Okay? The center didn't come about because of City Hall. City Hall was an obstacle. It was a community group. It was people.
You were the rebels. You and Morecamp took us around in buses.
We went
You had to
around
convince
and
the community.
and begged, borrowed, and steal to get people to adopt this. And you're right, we rented buses to go look at other facilities. But that's what it's going to take this go around. It's going to take the community to decide to keep the place open.
It's going to take this council to decide to keep things going and bring it to the community before you shut things down.
That's a true statement. That's a true statement.
thank you.
Hi, I'm Carrie Vincent, and I am a lap swimmer. Before you wake up in the morning, I am in the pool, and I don't miss a day. And that is my encouragement to you, is to not shut it down without the community becoming aware of what's going on, and to try your hardest to find a way to keep it going. It's a gem in our community, and it always has been. It's a tough time, but I think Bob McCune would roll over right now because he was so passionate about this. But I think a lot of us are very passionate. So try your hardest to keep it going, and then let the community, let us help you. We can be a great advocate for you because I think we have a pretty good voice in this community.
Sorry, my name's Ann West, and like Mr. Bast, I have a special needs son that just lives for going to the pool. But what I wanted to ask was, because I understand from like what you all have said that the Natatorium is responsible for 35 to 40% of the deficit. What is your assessment of the percentage of the revenues that can be attributed to having the Natatorium?
That's a net number.
And it's just like, I don't know, like all the numbers, but it looks like, you know, as Mr. Bast alluded, like he's kind of observed a drop off in attendance, maybe membership, and definitely the party since the pool was closed. And so as I understand, that'd be like a $100,000 investment to like bring that back up to speed. And I know it's kind of like a, diminishing returns thing, like, you know, you put more money in, you have to put money in to get money out, and it's very, very tricky. And I know you guys are dealing with lots of other numbers and lots of other things that the city has to provide for the residents. So I don't know if you want to answer that, I'll sit down, but I just maybe ask you to think about that, like how much revenue you would lose by trying to save money by shutting the natatorium.
Hi, I'm Richard Cavender. I am a longtime member of the center since the beginning, and we, my wife Jeannie and I are swimmers. And you've heard all the reasons why it should be kept open, and I'm sure you're in agreement with most of them. I mean, the economic impact, the health benefits. You know, we are unique in the state of Missouri as far as a rural community having a facility like this. And to fail, we'll be unique for that too. And I'm just thinking, first of all, I had no idea what the numbers were. Now, that may be my fault, but I just hadn't heard. I knew there was a problem. I knew that there was, you know, insufficient funds. I didn't know what the dollar figures were. And I imagine most people don't. So, you know, getting that word out there is probably key to whatever happens. The second thing is that Jeannie and I don't live in the city of Rolla. We live in the county, and yet we don't pay anything except what our dues are at the center, and we're willing to pay more. And I'm just wondering if there's something that can be done with the county to make that a county facility and to make it a county tax. And it's something that has been mentioned here, but I would like to see you look into that and pursue it as far as it will go. And I would like to pledge that we would help in any way we can as far as getting the word out in the community and helping promote such a tax. We'd work on it. And if people don't want it, that's fine. I'd rather we go to them with the proposal that we keep the center open with the Natatorium and not, you know, propose other options, you know, because I think that's weakening the argument for it. I think, you know, we ought to say, here's what we want to do. We want to save this facility. Here's what it's going to cost. Here's what we have to raise to do that and to keep it going far into the future. And if people say no, then, you know, we've got the decision. But, you know, I have a feeling that we can promote that and probably get the money that we need. So that's my opinion, and you take it for what it's worth. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Hi, I'm Barb Stoll. I'm from Cuba, Missouri, and I hope that I emailed all of the alder people last night. If I missed you, I'm sorry, but you know where I stand if you got my note. So I don't want to go over that again, but I happened to be thinking today, as I was working out at home, when I first started at the pool, I started the year you opened. In fact, I told my husband, we were shopping down at the shopping center, and I told him, I said, you know, we need to find out what that building is over there. They've been building that for so long. I said, let's go find out what it is. And it happened to be the day before you opened. And they gave me all the information about the pool, and I came dancing out of the center because I was so excited, because I only swim indoors because I've had skin cancer problems. So I was so excited, and we signed up, and I have been a member ever since. So the center means a lot to me. I have some health issues that it helps me with, just like a lot of other people. But I remember the first couple times when we would come to the center, I noticed the plaques that were around. And it would say this was donated, or this was made possible by the Kiwanis, or this was made possible by the Lions Club. And I'm thinking, is it time to maybe ask them to help out again? The ones who helped you the first time? Yes. To get us over the hump? To maybe just keep it open for those of us who are really going to be in sad shape if we don't have it anymore? I myself, you said $35 was about the going rate that everybody pays. I pay for my class, which I believe is $32, and I pay $35 for my membership. Because when I come to the pool, I walk around the river, many different ways, forwards, backwards, sideways. And then I take Kathy's class, and then I swim for 30, 40 minutes. And that membership gives me that right to do that, to stay and do my laps for that long. I am willing to pay that money. I would pay more if you asked me to, just to keep it open, if there's any way possible. So that's my plea. We have nothing like you anywhere. And I've learned one thing tonight. I'm not ever going to run for city council because I wouldn't be able to take this. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Sheffield. I am a resident of Phelps County. I use the center to swim. I have 3 children. They use the center. I think I sent an email as well, giving you some background, but I was a competitive swimmer growing up. So I was a kid when the center was built, but I remember going to meetings where there was a lot of debate. So it's interesting kind of to hear it now again. Unfortunately, it's not interesting because it's actually terrifying. The idea that we would shut down the pool is devastating, as you've heard from many people. And I know that may sound a little dramatic, but truly it is a lifeline for so many people. And I guess, you know, I just want to make that clear that not only is it useful for people with different levels of swimming abilities, but it helps the kids learn to swim. And I think Dr. Stecker had even mentioned, you know, what's the liability if somebody dies from drowning, considering it is the #1 killer of children under 4 and the #2 killer of any children. And I think that's actually in CDC, maybe the state as well. But I mean, it's a major concern, and there's no other options. You know, you can shut down the pool and you can say, okay, we're gonna have all these, we're gonna still have the gym open, we're gonna keep this open. There are other gyms, to be frank. There are not other pools. You cannot find another pool unless you go, like they said, I think 60 miles to Lebanon. Or maybe there's one 50 miles. I don't know. But the point is, it's far away. As far as, you know, the council discussing the budget, it's been pointed out. But the first I learned about this, frankly, I think was Saturday. And I think the first I heard of it was in the packet issued on Friday. Or I didn't see that, but I think that was the first notice I saw that this proposal was happening. So there really hasn't been very much notice. So I think everyone is scrambling, trying to find a solution. Maybe there's been conversations amongst yourselves, but I don't think any of us have a solution because we've only had 3 days, if that. Me, I think it was Sunday when I realized it. So the point is, I can't come up with a solution to fix this in a day. I think the community is willing to try, as is evidenced by everyone speaking, but there's got to be time. The idea that we're going to shut down the pool without having considered how to do this, I have strong concerns that it will never reopen, and that would be devastating. I also don't understand exactly why the pool is the target. I understand there's a budget. I understand we're concerned, obviously, with meeting the budget. But as far as I know, some of this is operated at a loss for a long time. Not the pool, but a lot of things operate at a loss, in fact, generally. But I don't understand why the pool is the target. I don't understand that. I understand that you said, I think it's 20,000 out of a 60,000 loss, but you've still got to make up 40,000 regardless. So I don't quite understand why we're cutting that, but we're still at a loss. I also wanted to know, and I'm not sure if someone mentioned this earlier, but has it been considered, you know, how many memberships you're going to lose from people who use the center primarily for the pool? I understand you're trying to reduce the bottom line, but you're losing revenue as well coming in. I strongly would consider not going to the center. I can go anywhere for a gym. I can't find an indoor pool anywhere else. I think like everyone else here that's spoken so far, I would ask you to seriously look into it. I think there are many that are committing to trying to look into this, but I think shutting down the pool without notice, without time to consider this is devastating and is irreparable. So please don't do that. Please work alongside all of us as well to try to find a solution. But I think the council has found ways to make up budget losses in the past. I think there's a way to do it. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ken Bergman. I live in the county. I've used the pool a couple times. My wife used the gym a couple times, but you know, I was hurting. I needed some therapy. My wife got therapy, and we both are doing better because of that. Give me 2 minutes. I know it's late. So 4 points. As we heard, there's a lot of people that don't know what happened, what the situation is. Rolla's an exceptional town. We got doctors, professors. There are some very wealthy people in town. They might take intel. But we need a public awareness campaign to let people know before we shut it down. Separately, we talk about children's safety. My granddaughter lives in Springfield, and she's 3 years old. She can swim. She goes down to the swim pool, she goes on her back, floats. She has a really good coach. She loves it. But the class she's in is in a rubber container that's about this tall, and it's in a building that's not much bigger than this room. There's no huge ceiling to heat and cool. Little kids are swimming, 3 years old. So children's safety, we ought to have that. You know, Springfield's a big town. I'm not sure if this is a commercial operation. It's a strip mall. You don't even know it's a pool. Park at the strip mall. You take the kid in, and they do their class for half an hour once a week. She loves it. So that's not the center, but it's keeping kids safe. That's all I have.
If I could just have another 30 seconds or something.
I'll give you half as much as you had the first time. How's that?
Just I would like, before we make a vote on something like this, can we get some real data, interview some people from the pool, ask a questionnaire from the people from the pool, see if they're willing, who's willing to actually pay? Would people pay an extra $1 to go for the pool? So we know exactly how many people we're going to lose, or potentially if people are going to tell the truth on a questionnaire as to what's going to happen. Because I hate to see them close this and then people vacate, and we don't really know exactly what the money is that we're going to gain or lose by closing the natatorium. If there is great support, and a lot of people, well, if I can't send my kids to swim while I'm working out, which is kind of like babysitting, I'm going to go to Planet Fitness. Bang, and a lot more people leave. We had some real data as to know if people would be willing to pay an extra $1, $5, $10, or separate it so if you're not a pool member, you can't go to the pool, so that we really know what we're closing and what we're losing or gaining by doing that. That's all.
So I'll tackle a couple of those. We've thought about all of those and have done several of them. You know, the concept of, the question was asked early on, would pool people be willing to pay more? And the answer to that was probably yes, is what our estimate was. But it would have to be substantially more. As a matter of fact, Power Wellness threw out a number. When I asked them, I said, well, what do you think the pool people should pay? And the answer I got is, you should start at least at $100 a month. Okay, so we're not talking about $1 or $2 is worthless. So we did ask that question, and even then, at $100, you're gonna have attrition. So now even your pool people population is probably gonna shrink once you go to $100 a month.
I'm just saying a survey of, if we
I
close the
understand.
pool,
Hold on.
how many people are going to leave?
I understand. Let me
Sorry to
finish.
interrupt.
So regarding where did we come up with the number? There are some numbers on the cost side that are very black and white, easy to identify. For instance, if you're not operating a pool, you're not going to buy those chemicals, for instance. If you're not going to operate the pool, you're not going to pay a lifeguard. Those are 100% certainty. With regard to other costs, meaning some of the shared cost, the electric that runs the pumps, well, how much of the electric would we really save by not running the pumps vis-a-vis the rest of the building? I want to say we did 2 analysis, maybe 3. So this is not just some numbers that were picked up. They were done 2 and 3 times just to be reasonably sure that we had a good estimate on those kind of things. On the revenue side, you could identify with certainty the amount of revenue that you would lose by not having the Kathy's training sessions and things like that. So that's a known number. And there's an estimate that was made on how many members of the center we would lose as a result of closing the Natatorium. Now, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but we did our best job as we could coming up with that number.
Right. I'm just saying that as far as, no one has ever asked me, and obviously we're here, but I think a survey or some kind of something, because I'm guessing we're gonna close, and yeah, maybe we can make an estimate, but I think it would be good to collect that data, that's all that from the members to say, specifically, every single person, are you gonna keep going here? How much of a difference does it make, and is it, because I'd hate to see it closed, and then, like I say, coming from aircraft maintenance or any kind of maintenance, it's gonna be a big restart up cost to get it back going again, and if we lose a ton of members in between there.
That cost is coming either way. Those things that I mentioned are gonna be incurred, whether they break on their own and you have to replace them, or you temporarily shut down and restart. So that capital number is a given under any circumstance.
Roger that. I just thought it'd be good to propose getting that information.
It's a good idea.
First. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm still new here, but I had a question pertaining to a couple of the others that, towards you. This is not the first time this issue's come up to a vote, to the people, like for a tax, is it? Did I hear that correctly, that this was put to the people?
I have lost track of how many times in 25
And the
years
citizens keep
we've
voting
talked
it down,
about-
am I
about the
correct
center.
on this?
Yeah. So let me answer the question. We've talked about the center so many times, you and your predecessors. Every year at the budget time, when we say, well, we gotta transfer another $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, there's a big discussion. The problem is not new. The problem is the same as it's been for so many years. That facility is built in such a way that it's going to need taxpayer support to operate. Don't kid yourself any other way. You could raise the fees a little bit, you can add a little more programming, you can put a few more weight machines in, but that's the cold, hard reality. Council knows this because we did a survey in the spring, as I remember. We surveyed all sorts of communities in the state of Missouri, bigger than us, smaller than us. We are the only ones that we have found that has no tax support. Now, you can go back, and if there's people in the room that are here old enough or long enough, they're gonna say, well, we were promised that the place would be self-funded. Yes, that was a goal 28 years ago. Sorry, we missed the mark. And I truly mean that when I say sorry. I'm not being flippant. My point is, the community has to decide if they want that facility open. And it's not somebody donating a piece of equipment or a plaque on the wall. It's going to take a sales tax for at least, I'm gonna say, $1 to $1.5 million a year. So if the community wants to organize and say, how can we save this facility, there's your number. That's what it's gonna take. Go ahead, Miss.
My name is Marie Crowley. I am here as a community member. I'm also an aquatics professional. I do have my AFO, and I've worked in recreation for the last 13 years. I am also a mother of 2 children who had taken swim lessons and learned to swim at the center. I think we've had enough people come through here and talk about the benefits of swim lessons. Those are statistics you can look up. We live in an area with rivers and streams and lakes, and we all know the importance of that. So I'm not going to regurgitate that. I do think that what I find frustrating as a recreation professional and someone who is really passionate about aquatics is that we have put all the pressure on the pool, and we're making it the decision it's either the pool and that's what's going to save us, or keep our head above water, when we're really kind of missing the mark. Power Wellness is a $270 million annual revenue as a corporation, and I think that they're who is failing Rolla. I think we haven't addressed that as loudly as we should have. We've had all these people up here talking about how they haven't realized that this is an issue and this has come up suddenly, and that's frustrating, and I feel their pain, and I know how important the pool is to them and how it is to every demographic in Rolla. We see seniors, we see youth, we see persons with disabilities utilize that area, and it's incredibly important. It's therapeutic. But what we're not talking about is the pool closing really going to, it's obviously we know we're still going to be at a loss of 40,000. We're talking consistently about how it's made of plaster and the plaster is failing. So you cannot drain a plaster pool and let it sit. You just can't. It's going to ruin the plaster. I know that. Every other aquatics professional knows that. So if we don't drain the pool and we're going to let it sit, that means we're going to have to run the pumps, and you're going to have to add chlorine, because you can't just run the pumps without adding chemical. Chemical is what's expensive, because then you're going to develop algae. We're going to have more staining. We're going to have a bigger issue. So when we do close the pool, are we draining it? Because then we know right then and there that there is going to be a mass of issues that you have to fix when you go to reopen the pool.
We know that. The plaster's gonna have to be fixed whether you drain the pool or not. That's a given.
It is in some sorts, but the way that the plaster and the foundation underneath the plaster is going to change dramatically when you take the water out of it. Taking the water out of a pool and letting it sit can affect the ground level underneath it. We do know that there's leaking underneath the pool. It happened to be leaking underneath the gym floor at one point, that there's moisture under there. I don't know if you guys have ever seen pictures of what happens when you remove that amount of water out of a pool floor and what can happen. It can raise up, and it can affect the foundation. Do you know that that's going to happen? No. Is it likely? Yes, especially being that close to the lake. So I think those are bigger issues that haven't been discussed today. I just wanted to bring it up, and it's more thought. But also, as someone who is pretty passionate about recreation, I think that there's a lot of case studies that we haven't talked about, or at least I haven't personally heard us discussing in the last few years about partnerships. We really dove into this Power Wellness and the partnership they were going to develop with the hospital that has not really come to fruition. But there's so many community partnerships with universities, high schools, public nonprofits, and we're really missing the mark. I think with Power Wellness, they haven't developed community relationships. I know that I work in a department that has not developed a relationship with Power Wellness. I am pretty active in the community. I have not been involved in any programs or community events based out of Power Wellness or the center. Recreation programming has completely diminished. There is no youth programs essentially being ran. I think their summer youth had 6 kids this summer. And that's sad to see. As a place that was holding over $150,000 worth of recreation youth program revenue annually that we no longer see. So I think that the bigger issue isn't just the pool, it's the management company and it's the leadership, and that's what we don't see from Power Wellness.
Last and certainly least, my name is Kathy Ball, and I came into the facility hand in hand with Mitch Lewis the day it opened. I've handled water fitness there all these years successfully, 5 days a week. We have gone to 4 days a week now. And I have always used this phrase, we are the last hotel. Y'all are really young right here that I can see, except you, Lou. Lou and I go back a long ways as well. But your hip doesn't hurt like Jane says. When I met Jane, she couldn't walk. Now you may go, well, yeah, that's a sad story. We're talking about the future. We have to figure out a way, because you all are going to get old if you don't die first. And that may happen just before this meeting's over. We may all be done here, but it's so important that you look ahead, not just at what's here, not just for who's here representing us. It's looking ahead into the future. We have something here that nobody else has in 100 miles from us. Lastly, I believe so much in this place. I've been in this place for so long. I've been from Rolla for over 40 years, that when my husband made me move to Columbia so that I could support my son's business, I drive back and forth 2 days a week. to handle this program and to also teach this program. So yes, at 4:30, when you guys are all sleeping, I'm up getting my coffee on the road and heading this way because I'm teaching 3 to 4 classes. And that's important. It is so important. So I want you to really give thought to, you're really young right there. What's gonna happen if you have some sort of snow skiing accident and you break your hip and you can't walk? Ask Jane, ask her what she's had to do. And the only place she can rehab that is in the water. So I would like for you, and my husband who said to me this week when I was talking to me, he said, "Are you going to speak?" And I said, "No, I don't think I need to speak. Everybody's heard from me enough." And he doesn't always say really smart things, but he did this day. And I was listening this day, but I don't always listen. He said, "Why are we having a meeting about closing the center instead of having a meeting on how we can keep it open?" So I would ask you just look around and let us try to find ways for this to happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to add a comment. The woman before Kathy made a reference about, closing the Natatorium is going to save the center. That's not true. Closing the Natatorium is not going to save the center. So the discussion we're having, although is targeted tonight to the Natatorium, understand very well the viability of that center is very much in jeopardy. This is not about the Natatorium, it's about the center. And as far as asking the community, I'm going to remind the community that at least 2 times before, we've gone to the ballot box, and 2 times before, the city lost miserably. And the community will not, remember the ballot language. Let's go back to the park tax, and somebody ought to pick up that ballot language. What does it say? It said specifically that no money can be used for the center. So we had to go to the voters 3 times, twice it failed, and the 3rd time it passed because the city had to give up that option. So let's be mindful of that. The answer is back to the ballot box, but understand it's a hard hill to climb. We did go 3 times, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. One was kind of close, okay. We lost. We lost. Okay. If there's no other speakers, look, I very much understand and appreciate everything you've said. And as I told Dr. Stecker, my proudest accomplishment is having my name on that plaque. So I don't take any of this very, very lightly. But the city's going to have to do some soul searching to find the money. So there's a longer term solution, which is going to have to be a tax. Period. End of story. In the meantime, how and where does that money come to bridge over to that? So that's the
On the chance that that tax may pass, that's where I'm looking at it as well. We went to the ballot boxes, what'd you say, 3 times?
If you go to the ballot box and it does not pass this time,
Then
then
thrown
the whole
money-
building is shut down in a day.
Yep.
There's the answer. The city does not have the general fund revenue to float the building at the present levels.
That's why I suggested that you somehow incorporate it into the county, because most of us in here are residents of the county, and we are not allowed to vote for your city issues. So if somehow you can incorporate it into a county vote, you would have all these people in here that would vote for the county. But I don't know how that works, so I'm just.
I think we can't tell the county to do that. County
No,
residents.
But you could.
Here's what you need to do. Tuesdays and Thursdays, they meet. You need to go to the county meeting and broach that subject.
They meet at 9 to 11 Tuesday and Thursday mornings at the courthouse.
I would like to untable this and return back to the discussion of the potential motion.
We like to call that removed from the table.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but I thought that might be a little highbrow.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. What is council's desires? You want to think about it? You probably don't want to vote tonight after listening, but it's your choice.
John, I know we got a budget meeting coming up here. The other alternative is to cut $750,000 out of other services that the city provides.
Or to go further into reserves that are becoming, I would say, alarmingly low for the general fund. So there are fundamental financial challenges that are out there. And the conversation we've had in some of the workshops in the last few years is, we'd have really been at this point 5 years ago were it not for the ARPA funding. We have used half of our federal ARPA dollars in keeping the center going.
And how many dollars was that?
We received $4.2 million in total. We put over $2 million of that
Into the
towards
center.
Yeah.
Is there still ARPA funding?
No.
Just so that the people here and anybody who may be watching have the information, what sort of a tax are we talking about? What size would that tax be?
A $0.25 sales tax would generate $1.5 million.
Right, thank you.
So that would be the safe number to go with. And a $0.25 sales tax is not a big sales tax. It's,
No.
You know, Rolla's sales tax rate total is 7.6%, another 1% the TDD. Many communities our size and bigger are at 9 and 10%. So Rolla has been a fiscally conservative community for a long time. And our low taxes and I think high delivery of services have bore out, I think, the community's attitudes, the city council's dedication. But this has been an issue that we saw coming for years when that original sales tax was sunsetted. We knew ultimately we were gonna have to face this day this point someday.
So I think we're still gonna hear more input. I know we got a budget meeting coming up. We got more discussions coming up. I think we set it to the side and really look at those numbers and get the rest of the input that we'll get from the community. I don't think we're ready to make a vote tonight.
No, agree.
We're good with that. Okay, thank you all. I know that, go ahead.
Just procedurally, and minutes-wise, but we removed it from the table. Do we want to have a motion to lay it back on the table?
Motion to postpone?
Yeah, because I feel like it's kind of left. We brought it off the table. We didn't do anything.
Correct.
Postpone or set
But we-
aside till the next meeting. would be-
Move to postpone till the first meeting in September after the budget meeting?
Hazel, second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. To all those who came tonight, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Your-
everyone.
Your comments are not falling on deaf
closing
ears.
No.
Mayor and city council
Yes.
comments?
Yes.
I have some.
Get it on the back of the page.
Yeah. I'm removing D from the agenda tonight.
Mr. Mayor, I move for a 5-minute recess to let the room clear.
I was hoping to slide all these things through while you were preoccupied.
Yes.
I think we can do it real quick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Motion withdrawn.
All right.
Hey, guys, we've got to go ahead and finish our meeting here.
I'll be, you know what, let me do these tomorrow. I'll do these tomorrow.
Because it's not.
John, I have homework to do. Okay, so for council's benefit, I did not put any bios in your packet for the simple reason is 2 of these are reappointments. Lister, if you don't know Lister, Lister was a long-term,
He's right back there.
is Lister here?
Yeah, Lister's here. Krista's here as well, I think. I think Krista's
Okay.
here also.
Lister, I was going to say such nice things about you, and I didn't even know you were here.
Yeah, don't let him hear that.
So,
You know how this
we'll
works.
talk about Lister in a fun.
Lister, you know how
We
this
knew you
works.
were here, so we want.
All right. So let's talk about Lister first. Lister's a long-term council person. I think you were the council's rep on P and Z, weren't you? Were you not? Yeah, for a long time. So we're very, very fortunate that he just got his arm out of the sling because I had to twist it a few times. But we are very fortunate to be able to have Lister join the planning and zoning. So I'd like a motion to appoint Lister Florence to planning and zoning for a 4-year
Walt will
I'll
make
make
the
that motion.
Walt will make the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Lister's opposed.
Okay. I'm going to go back to number 1. Christy Fleischhauer, raise your hand.
Christie's here.
Christy is a long-term library board member as well. Her term has come up, and I would very much like to reappoint her to the library board.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Christie to the library board.
Jackson will second.
Motion made in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Third one is another longtime board member of the library, Rachel White. I don't think she's here. I would like to reappoint her to the library board.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Rachel to the library board.
Han will second.
Motion made in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you for that. Comments for the good of the order? We have 2 on the list. One is the,
No,
no, I went
D.
through it.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay.
Next council meeting is September 2nd, day after Labor Day. And just for calendars, we've rescheduled the September 15th council meeting to Wednesday, the 17th.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. Also, Matthias turned in his resignation today as representative of Ward 1. He's got some priorities with his family, and I think he's probably doing the right thing by focusing on his family. So that seat will became vacant as of today.
Can you explain just quickly what happens to that seat? Is that open until the election,
your-
or?
At the next election. So with your consent, I appoint.
and that person will serve till the next election.
Right.
And then, if he just got elected, whoever is elected.
No, he's got
he
one
didn't.
more year. So
That's what I'm saying.
whoever is appointed,
Will serve until Matthias would have come up for reelection.
yeah,
So
Would be this.
Matthias would have been.
For 1 year.
No,
Yeah.
Matthias would have been in April's election, this
Correct.
coming up
Right.
on April's
Yes.
election.
yeah,
Yes.
that's how it works. And we've had a few of those. So
Yep,
yeah, we've had a few.
twisted my arm too.
Then didn't we leave to your left, who
Yes,
was
Stan.
there for a while?
Stan.
Yeah, Stan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, he resigned.
He resigned last summer.
Yep. Yep.
Any other comments for the good of the order?
Budget meeting.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the budget workshop is next Monday, August 25th. Light dinner at 5 o'clock, meeting actually starts at 5:30. So feel free to grab a bite if you're having to work later, and I certainly understand that. You will have a chance to have a bite while you're even sitting at the council. We'll be here, we'll do the presentations there, there's room for the public and department directors will all be there at that meeting as well.
Okay.
And we should have the budget out to you probably by Thursday of this week is our goal.
When did you say that date was?
Next
Next
Monday,
Monday.
Next
at
month.
5:30 is the meeting time.
Hey, we have nothing in closed session, so.
Well, did you mention the rescheduling of the 15?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
What was that? Any other comments by any?
We're doing September
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
17th. That's.
I'll be in